October the 29th, 2025. The moment humanity had been waiting for arrived with a silence that spoke louder than any explosion. While astronomers around the globe trained their instruments on the precise coordinates where 3i Atlas would make its closest approach to the Sun, something unprecedented unfolded in the data streams. Not the brilliant flare of a comet meeting its fiery end, but a gap. A single missing frame at the exact instant when everything should have been visible. In the sterile control rooms of observatories spanning 3 continents, technicians stared at their monitors in disbelief. The solar and heliospheric observatory had gone dark for precisely 38 seconds. Not a gradual fade or a burst of interference, but a clean cut in transmission that began and ended with surgical precision. When the feed resumed, 3i Atlas had emerged from behind the Sun's glare, but something fundamental had changed. The object that reappeared wasn't following the trajectory that months of careful calculation had predicted. It had shifted subtly but measurably, as if nudged by an invisible hand during those 38 seconds of darkness. More disturbing still, every major solar observatory had experienced the same blackout at the identical timestamp. Parker Solar Probe, Solar Orbiter, ground-based installations from Chile to Hawaii, all had lost their visual connection to the object at the precise moment it should have been most visible. If these mysteries grip your imagination the way they grip mine, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what we uncover next. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there, because this story spans the globe just like the observations we're about to examine. Share this with anyone who questions what we think we know about objects from beyond our solar system, because what happened at Perihelion challenges everything. The first clue that something extraordinary had occurred came not from what the instruments recorded, but from what they failed to record. In the business of solar observation, missing data is routine. Cosmic radiation, equipment malfunctions, and the sheer intensity of solar radiation can knock sensors offline without warning. But when multiple independent systems experience identical failures at the same moment, coincidence becomes statistically impossible. The 38-second gap wasn't random technical noise. When engineers examined the telemetry logs, they discovered that every affected instrument had stopped recording at exactly 14 hours, 26 minutes, and 4 seconds universal coordinated time. The synchronization was perfect, down to milliseconds across observatories separated by thousands of kilometers. Systems operating on completely different clocks, different software platforms, different communication protocols, all went silent together and resumed together as if controlled by a single switch. But the silence itself wasn't the most unsettling discovery. When data streams resumed, the object in view wasn't quite where orbital mechanics said it should be. The deviation was small, less than 1/10 of a degree, but at the vast scales of space, that tiny angle translated to a course correction of millions of kilometers over time. Something had altered 3i Atlas's trajectory during the blackout window, and the change was too precise to be random. Natural forces that could deflect an interstellar object are well understood by astronomers. Gravitational perturbations from planets, pressure from solar radiation, and asymmetric outgassing from sublimating ice all leave predictable signatures in orbital data. But none of these mechanisms could account for the specific type of course change that 3i Atlas had undergone. The deflection was too clean, too controlled, too purposeful. Traditional comet behavior during perihelion follows established patterns. As frozen gases heat and vaporize, they create jets of material that can push the nucleus in unpredictable directions. These jets are chaotic by nature, spraying material randomly as different regions of the surface warm at different rates. The resulting forces are uneven and typically cause objects to tumble or wobble as they're pushed around by their own outgassing. 3i Atlas showed none of this expected chaos. Instead of random buffeting, the trajectory change suggested a single, precisely applied force that had nudged the object into a new path with surgical accuracy. The kind of precision that implied intention rather than accident. Even more puzzling was the timing. The course correction had occurred at the exact moment when 3i Atlas was closest to the Sun and moving fastest along its orbit. In physics, this represents the most energy-efficient point to make trajectory changes, a principle known as the Oberth effect. Any civilization advanced enough to build interstellar vehicles would understand this fundamental concept and time their maneuvers accordingly. The radio astronomers were the first to detect the second anomaly. While visual instruments had gone dark, radio telescopes continued monitoring the region around 3I Atlas throughout the blackout period. At precisely the moment the visual feeds cut out, several facilities recorded a brief but intense spike in radio emissions at 2.29 GHz. The signal lasted less than 2 seconds but was detected simultaneously across multiple antennas pointing toward the Sun. Initially dismissed as terrestrial interference from satellite communications, the signal took on new significance when analysts realized no active satellites occupied the orbital positions necessary to create such a pattern. The radio burst had originated from near the Sun itself, from the exact coordinates where 3I Atlas was making its closest approach. The frequency was particularly intriguing. 2.29 GHz falls within a range commonly used for deep space communications by human spacecraft. While this could be coincidental, the precision of the timing suggested otherwise. The burst had occurred at the peak moment of perihelion, when the object would have been experiencing maximum solar heating and gravitational stress. When the visual data streams resumed after their 38-second interruption, the first images revealed another surprise. 3I Atlas appeared different. Not dramatically, but in ways that careful analysis could detect. The object's brightness pattern had changed from the asymmetrical glow typical of active comets to something more uniform and structured. The reflective properties of its surface had shifted, suggesting that whatever process had occurred during the blackout had altered the object's physical characteristics. Spectroscopic analysis of the post-perihelion emissions showed chemical signatures that didn't match pre-encounter observations. The ratios of different molecular species in the object's coma had changed in ways that couldn't be explained by simple heating and sublimation. Most notably, the detection of metallic compounds at concentrations far higher than expected for natural cometary material raised questions about the object's true composition. The polarization data proved equally mystifying. Light reflected from 3I Atlas showed a degree of organization that's virtually impossible to achieve through natural processes. Instead of the scattered, random polarization typical of dusty surfaces, the object was producing coherent, structured reflections more consistent with engineered surfaces than with space debris. Temperature measurements added another layer to the mystery. During the brief window when thermal sensors could penetrate the solar glare, 3I Atlas registered surface temperatures that exceeded what organic compounds could withstand. Yet the object emerged from perihelion intact, its surface apparently undamaged by heat that should have vaporized any natural material. The combination of synchronized equipment failures, precise trajectory corrections, structured radio emissions, and anomalous physical properties painted a picture that challenged conventional understanding of what 3I Atlas might actually be. Each piece of evidence, taken alone, might have reasonable explanations, but together they formed a pattern that suggested something far more significant than a routine comet encounter. As news of these anomalies began circulating through astronomical communities, official responses were notably restrained. Space agencies acknowledged technical difficulties during the observation period, but offered no detailed explanations for the synchronized failures or the object's altered characteristics. Press releases used carefully neutral language, describing unexpected behavior and unusual measurements without addressing the implications. The reluctance to discuss findings openly only fueled speculation about what had really occurred during those crucial 38 seconds. If the anomalies had natural explanations, why the hesitation to share detailed analysis? The pattern of limited disclosure suggested that the full implications of the perihelion encounter were still being evaluated at the highest levels of the space science community. Behind closed doors, emergency meetings were convened between major space agencies. Representatives from NASA, ESA, and other international partners began coordinating their responses and sharing classified data that hadn't been made available to the public. The sudden shift from open scientific collaboration to restricted information sharing indicated that 3I Atlas had revealed something that demanded careful consideration before any public announcements. The object itself continued on its altered trajectory, now heading away from the Sun at a slightly different angle than predicted. Long-range tracking stations maintained their observations, but the data was no longer being shared through normal scientific channels. What had begun as an exciting opportunity to study an interstellar visitor had transformed into something that required unprecedented levels of secrecy and coordination. As we prepare to examine the next phase of evidence, the questions multiply faster than the answers. What force could synchronize the failure of independent observation systems across multiple continents? How could a natural object execute such a precise course correction at the optimal moment for energy efficiency? Why did radio emissions occur at frequencies commonly used for spacecraft communications? The story of 3I Atlas's perihelion encounter is far from over. In fact, the missing 38 seconds may have been just the beginning of a sequence of events that would challenge everything we thought we understood about visitors from interstellar space, stellar space. The thermal data from those crucial moments revealed signatures that defied every model of natural comet behavior. When the Parker Solar Probe's instruments came back online after the blackout, they registered temperature spikes that painted an impossible picture. Instead of the chaotic heat distribution expected from a tumbling chunk of ice and rock, 3I Atlas displayed thermal patterns with geometric precision. The readings showed concentrated heating along what appeared to be structured bands wrapping around the object's equator. These weren't random hotspots created by uneven solar exposure, but organized zones that pulsed with mathematical regularity. The thermal gradient was too clean, too symmetrical, resembling the heat signature of engineered radiator panels rather than natural sublimation. Even more perplexing was how quickly the temperatures stabilized after perihelion. Natural comets continue heating and cooling chaotically for hours or even days as different regions cycle through solar exposure. 3I Atlas achieved thermal equilibrium within minutes, maintaining a steady temperature profile that suggested active regulation rather than passive response to solar radiation. The spectroscopic data that emerged in the following days painted an equally puzzling chemical picture. Standard analysis of coma emissions typically reveals a predictable mix of water vapor, carbon dioxide, and organic compounds vaporizing from a comet's nucleus. But 3I Atlas was producing something entirely different. Nickel compounds dominated the spectral readings at concentrations that shouldn't exist in natural objects. The specific molecular signatures indicated nickel tetracarbonyl, a highly toxic compound that forms only under controlled laboratory conditions on Earth. In the harsh environment of space, particularly near the Sun, such delicate chemical structures should decompose within seconds. Yet the nickel emissions weren't random or decaying. They pulsed rhythmically every 28 minutes with clockwork precision, as if being produced and released on a controlled schedule. The timing was too regular to be coincidental, too organized to be natural chemistry responding to solar heating. The carbon chemistry added another layer of impossibility. While carbon dioxide levels should have spiked dramatically during perihelion passage, they actually decreased. The expected flood of CO2 from sublimating ice never materialized. Instead, the readings showed this primary cometary volatile being consumed or converted into other compounds at an unprecedented rate. Simultaneously, carbon monoxide concentrations rose in perfect inverse proportion to the CO2 decline. The stoichiometry was flawless, suggesting a controlled conversion process rather than random chemical breakdown. Something was selectively processing carbon dioxide and transforming it into carbon monoxide with the efficiency of an industrial catalyst. The oxygen that should have been liberated during this conversion was nowhere to be found in the spectral data. In natural chemical processes, oxygen doesn't simply vanish. It forms new compounds, gets incorporated into other molecules, or escapes as free gas. But around 3I Atlas, oxygen was being sequestered by some unknown mechanism that left no detectable signature. This oxygen deficit became the focus of intense analysis among chemical spectroscopists. Computer models attempting to balance the observed reactions required the presence of a selective binding agent capable of capturing oxygen while allowing other elements to combine freely. Such specificity is hallmark of designed systems, not random space chemistry. The timing of these chemical anomalies coincided perfectly with the thermal regulation and the synchronized equipment failures. During the 38-second blackout window, every chemical process around 3I Atlas had shifted from chaotic natural reactions to organized, purposeful transformations. The correlation was too precise to be accidental. As the object moved away from the Sun, its chemical activity didn't fade gradually as expected. Instead, it switched off abruptly, returning to baseline levels with the same mathematical precision that had characterized its onset. The transition was digital rather than analog, suggesting an on-off mechanism rather than gradual thermal cooling. Radio telescopes monitoring the region detected another anomaly during this chemical transition phase. A series of low-frequency pulses emerged from 3I Atlas's coordinates, repeating at 5.3 Hz with metronomic regularity. The frequency was too low for natural plasma oscillations, but perfectly matched the harmonic resonance of metallic structures under electromagnetic stress. The pulse pattern wasn't random noise. When converted to audio, it produced a steady rhythm that maintained perfect timing across multiple observation sessions. Each pulse was identical in duration and amplitude, as if generated by a precision oscillator rather than chaotic physical processes. Ground-based observatories began detecting visual correlations with the radio pulses. Tiny brightness fluctuations in 3I Atlas's reflected light synchronized perfectly with the electromagnetic emissions, creating a coordinated display across multiple wavelengths. The object was simultaneously pulsing in radio waves, visible light, and thermal emissions with identical timing. This multi-spectrum synchronization requires sophisticated coordination between different physical processes. Natural phenomena rarely produce such coherent signals across diverse wavelengths. The organization suggested active control rather than passive response to environmental conditions. The polarization measurements during this phase revealed another impossibility. Light reflected from 3I Atlas began showing negative polarization characteristics, meaning the reflected waves were more organized than the incident sunlight. Natural surfaces scatter light randomly, reducing its coherence. Only specially designed optical systems can increase light's organization through reflection. The negative polarization wasn't uniform across the object's surface. Different regions showed varying degrees of optical coherence, creating a patchwork pattern that rotated with the object's spin. This suggested surface features with different reflective properties, each optimized for specific optical functions. When these polarization patterns were mapped against the thermal and chemical data, they aligned perfectly. Regions showing the most organized light reflection corresponded exactly with zones of controlled chemical activity and regulated temperature. The correlation was too precise to be coincidental, indicating integrated systems operating across multiple physical domains. Magnetic field measurements added yet another layer of coordinated activity. The object generated subtle but detectable magnetic oscillations that pulsed in rhythm with all the other phenomena. The field strength was weak but highly organized, resembling the signature of current loops rather than natural magnetic materials. The magnetic pulses followed the same 28-minute cycle as the chemical emissions, creating a complex symphony of coordinated activities. Each pulse was preceded by a brief electromagnetic spike, as if energy was being accumulated and then discharged in controlled bursts. Deep space tracking stations began noticing that these coordinated pulses were having a cumulative effect on 3I Atlas's motion. Each electromagnetic discharge corresponded with a tiny but measurable change in velocity, as if the object was using its own emissions to make micro-adjustments to its trajectory. The adjustments weren't random course corrections. They followed a clear pattern designed to counteract solar radiation pressure and maintain a specific orbital path. Instead of being pushed around by natural forces, 3I Atlas was actively steering itself with precision that exceeded human spacecraft capabilities. Analysis of the trajectory modifications revealed they were optimized for energy efficiency, using principles of orbital mechanics. Each pulse provided maximum effect for minimum energy expenditure, demonstrating sophisticated understanding of gravitational dynamics and momentum transfer. The coordination between chemical processing, thermal regulation, electromagnetic emissions, optical properties, and trajectory control painted a picture of integrated systems operating in harmony. No known natural process could produce such multi-domain synchronization with mathematical precision. As observatories around the world compiled their data, a disturbing consensus emerged among researchers willing to examine the evidence objectively. 3I Atlas wasn't behaving like a natural object responding passively to solar radiation. It was demonstrating active control across multiple physical systems, coordinating complex operations with timing that suggested artificial intelligence. The implications were staggering, but discussing them openly risked professional credibility in scientific communities still committed to natural explanations. The data spoke clearly, but the conclusions it pointed toward challenged fundamental assumptions about what kinds of objects travel between the stars. Behind the scenes, emergency consultations began between space agencies and national security organizations. If 3i Atlas was demonstrating technological capabilities, the implications extended far beyond astronomy into questions of origin, purpose, and potential threat assessment. The next phase of observations would prove even more challenging to explain through conventional theories as 3i Atlas prepared to demonstrate capabilities that would force a complete re-evaluation of what humanity thought it knew about visitors from deep space. As 3i Atlas continued its outbound journey from Perihelion, the synchronized anomalies that had puzzled observers suddenly intensified into something far more dramatic. What began as subtle electromagnetic pulses and chemical processing evolved into a phenomenon that would challenge the very foundations of physics as we understand it. The first indication that something unprecedented was about to unfold came from Parker Solar Probe's plasma detectors. As the spacecraft passed through the region of space that 3i Atlas had recently vacated, its instruments registered a complete absence where there should have been the normal chaos of solar wind particles. Not a reduction in density, but a perfect void stretching across thousands of kilometers. Solar wind doesn't create empty corridors in space. The charged particles streaming from the sun fill every available volume, creating a relatively uniform background of electromagnetic activity. But where 3i Atlas had passed, that background had been completely swept clean, leaving behind a tunnel of silence in the cosmic storm. The void wasn't static. It moved with 3i Atlas, maintaining a consistent distance from the object as it travelled away from the sun. The boundary between the empty corridor and normal space was razor-sharp, without the gradual transitions typical of natural phenomena. Something was actively maintaining this zone of artificial calm in one of the most violent regions of the solar system. When Solar Orbiter crossed the same region hours later, it detected identical conditions. The particle-free corridor had not only persisted but had grown more defined, its boundaries becoming increasingly geometric. The void was taking shape, transforming from a simple absence into something that resembled engineered space. Magnetic field measurements revealed the mechanism behind this impossible phenomenon. 3i Atlas was generating a localized electromagnetic field powerful enough to deflect solar wind particles while remaining virtually undetectable to standard instruments. The field created a protective bubble around the object, pushing away charged particles and creating the observed void. The energy requirements for such a field should have been enormous, far exceeding anything a natural object could produce. Yet 3i Atlas showed no signs of energy depletion. If anything, its electromagnetic emissions were growing stronger as it moved away from the sun, suggesting it had somehow harvested and stored solar energy during its perihelion passage. The bubble itself displayed properties that violated conventional understanding of plasma physics. Instead of the chaotic, fluctuating boundaries typical of magnetic confinement, 3i Atlas's protective field maintained geometric precision. Its edges were smooth, its thickness uniform, its orientation perfectly aligned with the object's trajectory. Radio telescopes detected harmonic resonances within the bubble that matched the 28-minute pulse cycle observed earlier. The entire structure was oscillating rhythmically, expanding and contracting like a vast electromagnetic lung. Each pulse coincided with a brief brightening of 3i Atlas itself, as if energy was being cycled between the object and its protective field. The resonance patterns weren't random oscillations. They formed standing waves with mathematical relationships that suggested deliberate tuning. The frequencies involved matched theoretical calculations for optimal plasma confinement, indicating sophisticated understanding of electromagnetic field dynamics. As the protective bubble stabilized, observers noticed another disturbing development. The electromagnetic field wasn't just deflecting solar wind particles, it was organizing them. Along the bubble's outer boundary, charged particles began flowing in coordinated streams, creating structured patterns that resembled technological applications rather than natural phenomena. These particle streams weren't chaotic flows driven by pressure differentials. They moved with purpose, following precisely defined paths that curved around the bubble's perimeter. The organization was so perfect that some researchers began referring to it privately as particle engineering. The streams carried electrical current in carefully controlled loops, creating secondary magnetic fields that reinforced the primary bubble structure. This feedback system allowed 3i Atlas to maintain its protective field with minimal energy input, using the solar wind itself as a power source for its defensive systems. Temperature measurements within the bubble revealed another anomaly. While the surrounding space maintained the normal temperature profile expected at that distance from the sun, the interior of the protective field was significantly warmer. Heat was being trapped and concentrated, creating a localized thermal environment that remained stable despite the object's motion through space. The thermal gradient wasn't random. Temperature variations within the bubble followed geometric patterns that correlated with the electromagnetic field structure. Warmer regions aligned with field concentrators, while cooler zones corresponded to field gaps. The temperature distribution was being actively managed to maintain optimal conditions within the protective envelope. Spectroscopic analysis of the bubble's interior revealed atmospheric conditions unlike anything observed in natural space environments. Instead of the typical vacuum with trace particles, 3i Atlas had created a contained atmosphere with measurable density and complex chemistry. The object was carrying its own environment as it traveled through interstellar space. The atmospheric composition included noble gases at concentrations that couldn't be explained by solar wind capture or outgassing from the object itself. Helium, neon, and argon were present in ratios that suggested deliberate mixing rather than random accumulation. Someone or something had engineered this atmosphere for specific purposes. Pressure measurements within the bubble showed values thousands of times higher than the surrounding vacuum, yet the boundaries remained stable without any visible containment structure. The electromagnetic field was somehow compressing and holding atmospheric gases in defiance of their natural tendency to expand into space. The chemistry within this artificial atmosphere was actively regulated. Oxygen levels remained constant despite consumption by ongoing reactions. Carbon dioxide was continuously processed and converted to other compounds. The system was maintaining atmospheric balance through active management rather than passive equilibrium. Infrared observations detected thermal emissions from within the bubble that suggested internal activity. Heat sources were distributed throughout the contained volume in patterns that didn't match any known natural process. The thermal signatures resembled those of active machinery rather than passive heat retention. The internal heat sources pulsed in synchronization with the electromagnetic field oscillations, indicating coordinated operation between different systems. Energy was being circulated, processed, and redistributed within the bubble according to a complex schedule that maintained perfect timing across multiple subsystems. As 3i Atlas continued its journey away from the sun, the protective bubble began exhibiting new behaviors that further challenged natural explanations. The field strength modulated in response to changes in solar wind conditions, automatically adjusting to maintain optimal protection levels. This adaptive response required real-time monitoring and control systems capable of processing environmental data and implementing corrective actions. The adaptations weren't simple on-off switches. They involved sophisticated calculations that optimized field geometry for changing conditions. When solar wind pressure increased, the bubble became more streamlined. When particle density decreased, it expanded to capture more material for atmospheric maintenance. Ground-based observatories detected coordinated changes in 3i Atlas's optical properties that synchronized with bubble modifications. As the electromagnetic field adjusted, the object's reflective characteristics changed accordingly. Surface features that had appeared metallic became more diffuse, while other regions increased their reflectivity to mirror-like levels. These optical changes weren't random fluctuations. They followed patterns that suggested active control over surface properties, possibly through manipulation of microscopic structures or deployment of variable reflectivity materials. The object was fine-tuning its interaction with the light to optimize energy absorption and thermal management. The polarization characteristics of reflected light continued to show impossible negative values, indicating that 3i Atlas was somehow organizing incident radiation into more coherent forms. This required sophisticated optical engineering capabilities that exceeded current human technology by significant margins. Radio emissions from the object during this phase became more complex and structured. Multiple frequencies were transmitted simultaneously, creating interference patterns that carried information in their modulation. While the content remained indecipherable, the organization was unmistakably artificial. The radio signals weren't broadcast randomly in all directions. They were beamed along specific vectors that changed according to 3i Atlas's orientation and trajectory. Some transmissions were aimed back toward the inner solar system, while others were directed towards specific regions of interstellar space. The targeting precision required accurate knowledge of 3I Atlas's position and velocity, as well as sophisticated antenna systems capable of forming narrow beams across vast distances. The object was demonstrating navigation and communication capabilities that implied both intelligence and purpose. Deep space tracking stations began detecting subtle variations in the radio signals that correlated with changes in the protective bubble's properties. The electromagnetic field was somehow being used as a transmission medium, modulating its structure to encode information in the broadcast signals. This integration between propulsion, protection, and communication systems indicated a level of technological sophistication that forced observers to confront uncomfortable questions about 3I Atlas's true nature. The object wasn't just demonstrating individual capabilities, it was revealing a coordinated technological ecosystem operating in perfect harmony. As the implications of these observations began to sink in among the scientific community, official communications became increasingly restricted. Data sharing between observatories was quietly curtailed, and public releases of findings were delayed pending further analysis. The evidence was pointing toward conclusions that challenged fundamental assumptions about humanity's place in the universe. The next phase of 3I Atlas's journey would provide even more definitive proof that Earth was witnessing something far beyond natural phenomena, as the object prepared to demonstrate capabilities that would leave no doubt about its artificial origins and sophisticated engineering. What happened next would forever change how we understand objects from interstellar space. On November 1st at precisely 5:12 UTC, every major space observatory simultaneously recorded something that shouldn't have been possible. 3I Atlas didn't just continue its coordinated operations, it began to separate. The first indication came from radar cross-section measurements that suddenly showed two distinct returns instead of one. The signatures were clean, well-defined, indicating solid objects rather than debris clouds or fragmenting material. But this wasn't a chaotic breakup driven by thermal stress or rotational forces. The separation was controlled, methodical, purposeful. Parker Solar Probe's magnetometers detected the electromagnetic precursors 18 seconds before visual confirmation. Subtle field fluctuations built to a crescendo, then suddenly reorganized into two separate but synchronized patterns. Whatever was happening, it involved coordinated electromagnetic systems operating between the separating components. When the visual data finally resolved the event, observers witnessed something unprecedented in astronomical records. A smaller object had detached from 3I Atlas and was moving away along a precisely calculated trajectory. Not spinning randomly like ejected debris, but maintaining stable orientation and controlled motion that defied natural explanations. The separated component measured roughly 1/8 the size of the main body, but its radar signature indicated much higher density. While 3I Atlas had always shown anomalous mass distribution, suggesting internal voids or compartments, this new object appeared solid throughout. The density calculations pointed to metallic composition with minimal internal structure. Most remarkably, the separation occurred without any detectable release of energy or material. Natural fragmentation events produced debris clouds, thermal signatures, and momentum transfer that can be measured across multiple wavelengths. But this division was surgically clean, leaving no trace of the mechanism that had enabled it. The two objects maintained perfect coordination despite their physical separation. Their electromagnetic fields remained synchronized, pulsing in the same 28-minute cycle that had characterized 3I Atlas throughout its solar encounter. Radio emissions continued from both bodies, now creating interference patterns that suggested deliberate signal coordination. Ground-based observatories tracked the smaller object as it executed a complex trajectory that gradually curved back toward the main body. The path wasn't ballistic or influenced by gravitational forces alone. It required continuous propulsion using mechanisms that produced no visible exhaust or reaction mass. The reunion maneuver demonstrated navigation capabilities that exceeded human spacecraft technology. The smaller object approached 3I Atlas from multiple angles, making course corrections with precision that indicated real-time guidance systems and thrust vectoring capabilities. No random space debris could execute such controlled flight patterns. During the 43 minutes between separation and reunion, both objects maintained radio contact using frequencies that shifted and adapted to optimize signal quality. The communication protocols showed sophisticated error correction and encryption methods that suggested information exchange rather than simple telemetry. Infrared observations during this period revealed coordinated thermal management between the two bodies. As one object increased its heat output, the other would compensate by adjusting its thermal profile. The system was maintaining overall energy balance while enabling independent operations of separate components. The smaller object's trajectory brought it through regions of space where solar wind conditions varied significantly. Its protective electromagnetic field automatically adapted to these changing conditions, demonstrating autonomous environmental management capabilities that operated independently of the main body's control systems. Spectroscopic analysis of emissions from both objects during separation revealed identical chemical signatures, confirming they had originated from the same source. But the emission patterns showed subtle differences that suggested specialized functions for each component. The smaller body emphasized electromagnetic frequencies, while the main object focused on thermal and chemical processing. When reunion occurred at 2147 UTC, the merger was as precisely controlled as the initial separation had been. The smaller object approached along a carefully calculated vector that minimized relative velocity and ensured perfect alignment. No human spacecraft had ever demonstrated such precise autonomous docking capabilities in deep space. The electromagnetic signatures of both objects synchronized perfectly during the final approach phase, creating constructive interference patterns that amplified their combined field strength. The reunion wasn't just physical. It represented the integration of complementary technological systems. Post-merger analysis revealed that 3i Atlas had not simply recombined its components. The object's electromagnetic, thermal, and optical properties had all shifted subtly but measurably. The separation and reunion cycle had somehow modified the object's operational parameters, suggesting adaptive reconfiguration capabilities. The entire sequence lasted exactly 43 minutes and 12 seconds, a duration that appeared carefully chosen rather than determined by natural processes. The precision timing suggested mission-critical operations conducted according to predetermined schedules, rather than opportunistic responses to environmental conditions. Radio emissions during the final moments of reunion included a brief but intense transmission at 841 GHz, a frequency commonly used for deep space communications. The signal was highly directional, aimed toward a specific region of interstellar space rather than broadcast omnidirectionally. Someone or something was receiving a status report. The transmission lasted only 4 seconds, but carried complex modulation patterns that indicated structured data rather than simple beacon signals. When converted to audio frequencies, the modulation produced a pure tone at 440 Hz, the international standard for musical pitch. The significance of this reference frequency was impossible to ignore. After the reunion transmission ended, 3i Atlas entered a new operational phase characterized by reduced activity across all monitored parameters. The electromagnetic field contracted, thermal emissions decreased, and radio signals became intermittent. The object appeared to be entering a dormant or standby mode following completion of its separation cycle. However, this apparent dormancy masked continued subtle operations that only the most sensitive instruments could detect. Deep space tracking stations recorded minute variations in the object's trajectory that indicated ongoing micro-adjustments to its course. 3i Atlas was still actively navigating despite its reduced energy signature. The trajectory modifications followed a pattern that gradually shifted the object's path above the ecliptic plane, the flat disk containing Earth's orbit. This wasn't random drift caused by solar radiation pressure, but deliberate course corrections that required continuous monitoring of position and velocity relative to the solar system's geometry. Magnetic field measurements during this phase revealed residual oscillations that maintained the characteristic 5.3 Hz frequency observed throughout 3i Atlas's solar encounter. The rhythm had become fainter but remained perfectly stable, suggesting internal systems continued operating at reduced power levels. Long-range optical observations detected periodic brightness variations that synchronized with the magnetic oscillations. Even in its dormant state, 3i Atlas continued coordinating electromagnetic and optical activities with mathematical precision. The object was idling, not shut down. The implications of witnessing controlled separation and reunion challenged every assumption about what kinds of objects travel between the stars. Natural comets don't deploy secondary components on reconnaissance missions. Asteroids don't demonstrate autonomous docking capabilities. 3I Atlas was revealing technological sophistication that forced observers to confront possibilities they had never seriously considered. Space agencies began classifying observational data at levels typically reserved for national security information. International cooperation that had characterized the early phases of 3I Atlas monitoring suddenly became restricted, with different agencies sharing only selected findings while withholding their most significant discoveries. The separation and reunion cycle represented a watershed moment in humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. For the first time, observers had witnessed unambiguous proof that sophisticated technology could travel between star systems, operate autonomously in the harsh environment of space, and execute complex missions with capabilities that exceeded current human achievements. As 3I Atlas continued its outbound journey following the reunion event, tracking stations detected faint traces of a secondary object following the same trajectory at a much greater distance. Whatever had been deployed during the separation cycle hadn't returned entirely. Something remained behind, invisible to most instruments, but detectable by the most sensitive deep space monitoring systems. The secondary trace maintained perfect alignment with 3I Atlas's modified trajectory, suggesting continued coordination despite the vast distance between them. The object had successfully deployed a companion system that would continue operating independently while the main body proceeded toward its ultimate destination. Radio telescopes occasionally detected faint signals that appeared to originate from the trailing object's position. The transmissions were too weak for detailed analysis, but their timing correlated with 3I Atlas's ongoing magnetic oscillations. The separated component was still communicating with its parent system across millions of kilometers of space. This revelation that 3I Atlas had permanently deployed a secondary system within the solar system added new urgency to efforts to understand its mission and capabilities. If the object was conducting reconnaissance or establishing infrastructure, the implications extended far beyond academic curiosity into questions of security and planetary defense. As December approached and 3I Atlas faded beyond the range of most observational systems, the evidence of its technological nature had become overwhelming. The object had demonstrated controlled navigation, electromagnetic field generation, atmospheric management, component separation and reunion, deep space communications and autonomous systems operations. No natural explanation could account for such coordinated capabilities. The scientific community found itself confronting a reality that challenged fundamental assumptions about intelligence in the universe. 3I Atlas had proven that advanced technology could traverse interstellar distances and operate effectively within foreign solar systems. The question was no longer whether such capabilities existed, but who had built them and what purposes they served. Behind closed doors, emergency meetings convened between space agencies, defense departments, and intelligence organizations. If 3I Atlas represented contact with non-human intelligence, the implications touched every aspect of human civilization. Protocols developed for such scenarios were activated for the first time, initiating classified response procedures that had been theoretical until this moment. The object that had appeared as a routine astronomical discovery had evolved into something that would reshape humanity's understanding of its place in a universe that was clearly more populated and more technologically sophisticated than previously imagined. As 3I Atlas disappeared into the darkness between stars, it left behind questions that would define the next chapter of human exploration and development. What remained behind after 3I Atlas vanished into deep space would haunt every subsequent observation for months to come. The faint secondary trace that had been deployed during the separation event didn't simply drift away as expected. Instead, it began exhibiting its own pattern of coordinated activities that suggested the parent object had left behind more than just debris. Deep space monitoring stations detected the first anomaly 3 weeks after 3I Atlas had faded beyond visual range. The trailing object, initially assumed to be inert, began emitting regular pulses at the same 5.3 Hz frequency that had characterized the main body throughout its solar encounter. The rhythm was fainter but perfectly consistent, indicating active systems rather than passive reflection of solar radiation. The pulses weren't random electromagnetic noise. They followed the same mathematical precision that had defined every aspect of 3i Atlas's behavior, maintaining exact timing intervals that suggested internal chronometer control. Whatever had been left behind possessed autonomous timing systems capable of maintaining synchronization without external reference signals. Radio telescopes trained on the object's coordinates began detecting structured transmissions that occurred precisely every 4 hours and 17 minutes. The signals were too weak for detailed analysis, but their timing was so regular that automated systems flagged them as artificial rather than natural phenomena. The deployment had left behind something that was actively communicating. Ground-based observatories using adaptive optics occasionally caught glimpses of reflected light from the object's position. The reflection showed polarization characteristics identical to those observed from 3i Atlas during its active phase. The surface properties that had seemed so impossible on the main body were now being replicated by its separated component. Temperature measurements revealed another disturbing parallel. Despite receiving minimal solar radiation at its current distance, the deployed object maintained thermal signatures consistent with internal heat generation. Something inside was producing energy through mechanisms that didn't depend on solar input, suggesting self-contained power systems. The object's trajectory began showing micro-adjustments that couldn't be explained by gravitational influences or solar radiation pressure. Like its parent body, the deployed component was actively steering itself along a calculated path that maintained specific geometric relationships to the solar system's major bodies. Most unsettling was the discovery that the object was gradually moving into an orbital configuration that would bring it closer to Earth's path around the Sun. Not directly threatening, but close enough to maintain observation capabilities over extended periods. The deployment had positioned a surveillance system within the inner solar system. Analysis of the orbital mechanics revealed sophisticated planning that accounted for planetary motions years into the future. The deployed object's trajectory was designed to maintain optimal positioning for long-term monitoring operations, suggesting mission planning that extended far beyond the brief Perihelion encounter. Magnetic field measurements detected coordinated pulses between the deployed object and residual traces of 3i Atlas's electromagnetic signature at the edge of detectability. Even as the main body travelled toward interstellar space, it maintained communication links with its deployed component across vast distances. The communication protocols showed adaptive characteristics that adjusted to changing space weather conditions. When solar storms disrupted normal electromagnetic propagation, the signal patterns modified their frequencies and timing to maintain contact. The system was actively managing its own communication channels. Intelligence agencies began paying closer attention to the deployed object as its capabilities became apparent. If 3i Atlas had indeed represented contact with non-human technology, the presence of an active monitoring system within the solar system raised immediate security concerns that extended beyond scientific curiosity. Attempts to establish communication with the deployed object using standard radio protocols produced no detectable response. Either the system wasn't designed to acknowledge external contact, or it was programmed to maintain operational security by ignoring attempts at interaction from the local civilization. The object's behavior patterns suggested it was conducting systematic observations of solar system activity. Its orientation changed periodically to align with different planetary positions, and its transmission schedules correlated with orbital configurations that would optimize data collection about human space activities. Infrared observations revealed that the deployed object occasionally produced brief thermal flares that coincided with major space launches or satellite deployments from Earth. The correlation was too precise to be coincidental, indicating active monitoring of human technological activities. The realization that Earth was under observation by an artificial system of unknown origin fundamentally changed how space agencies approached their operations. Launch schedules began incorporating security considerations, and sensitive missions were planned to minimize exposure during periods when the deployed object had optimal viewing angles. International cooperation in space surveillance increased dramatically as nations recognized the need to coordinate responses to this unprecedented situation. The presence of advanced monitoring technology within the solar system required unprecedented levels of information sharing and joint planning among previously competitive space programs. deep space radar systems began detecting subtle changes in the deployed object's configuration that suggested modular reconfiguration capabilities. The system wasn't static, but could apparently modify its structure to optimize performance for different operational requirements. The modifications followed patterns that indicated adaptive learning algorithms. As the object gathered more data about solar system conditions and human activities, it adjusted its operational parameters to improve surveillance effectiveness. The system was evolving its capabilities based on environmental feedback. Spectroscopic analysis of emissions from the deployed object revealed chemical signatures that matched those observed from 3I Atlas during its active phase. The same exotic compounds and processing capabilities had been replicated in miniature form, confirming the technological relationship between parent and offspring systems. The chemical activities weren't random, but followed the same controlled patterns that had characterized 3I Atlas's behavior. Carbon dioxide processing, nickel compound synthesis, and oxygen sequestration all occurred on schedule according to the same mysterious protocols that had governed the main object's operations. Long-range tracking stations detected periodic alignment maneuvers that positioned the deployed object for optimal signal transmission toward the constellation Lyra. The same region of interstellar space that had been 3I Atlas's apparent destination was receiving regular status updates from the monitoring system left behind. The transmission beam patterns were highly directional and used frequencies that minimized interference from solar radiation. The deployed object had sophisticated antenna systems capable of maintaining communication links across interstellar distances, while avoiding detection by most human monitoring systems. Gravitational wave detectors began reporting subtle anomalies that correlated with the deployed object's transmission schedules. The system appeared to be using exotic propulsion methods that produced measurable distortions in space-time fabric, indicating technology that operated on physical principles beyond current human understanding. The space-time distortions were too small to pose any danger, but were detectable by the most sensitive gravitational wave observatories. Each transmission event produced a characteristic signature that confirmed the artificial nature of the deployed system and provided insights into its operational mechanisms. Analysis of these gravitational signatures revealed that the deployed object was capable of manipulating local space-time geometry to achieve propulsion effects without reaction mass. The technology represented mastery of physics concepts that human science was only beginning to understand theoretically. The implications of having such advanced technology operating within the solar system forced a complete re-evaluation of planetary defense strategies. If the deployed object could manipulate space-time, traditional concepts of distance and protection became meaningless against such capabilities. Space agencies began developing new detection methods specifically designed to monitor the deployed object's activities without alerting it to human surveillance efforts. The challenge was gathering intelligence about advanced alien technology while avoiding actions that might be interpreted as hostile or threatening. Psychological studies were commissioned to assess the long-term impact of knowing that Earth was under constant observation by non-human intelligence. The knowledge that every human space activity was being monitored and reported to unknown entities raised unprecedented questions about privacy, autonomy, and species security. The deployed object's presence also raised fundamental questions about the nature and intentions of the intelligence that had created 3I Atlas. Was the monitoring system gathering scientific data, conducting reconnaissance for future contact, or assessing human technological development for other purposes? Attempts to model the deployed object's mission parameters suggested observation campaigns that could continue for decades or centuries. The system appeared designed for long-term monitoring rather than short-term data collection, indicating sustained interest in human civilization's development. The realization that humanity had been selected for extended observation by advanced non-human intelligence marked a turning point in species consciousness. The comfortable assumption that Earth existed in cosmic isolation had been permanently shattered by undeniable evidence of active extraterrestrial attention. As months passed and the deployed object continued its systematic surveillance operations, human civilization began adapting to the new reality of living under constant observation. The knowledge that every technological achievement and space exploration effort was being recorded and transmitted to unknown recipients fundamentally altered how humanity viewed its place in the universe. The story of 3i Atlas had evolved from an interesting astronomical discovery into a defining moment in human history. What had begun as routine observation of an interstellar visitor had revealed that Earth existed within a galaxy populated by intelligences capable of interstellar travel, sophisticated surveillance, and long-term strategic planning that encompassed multiple star systems. The deployed monitoring system continued its operations with mechanical precision, gathering data and transmitting reports according to protocols established by its creators. Humanity found itself in the unprecedented position of knowing it was being watched, while being unable to communicate with or influence the watchers. This new reality demanded fundamental changes in how human civilization approached space exploration, technological development, and long-term species planning. The universe had revealed itself to be far more complex and populated than previously imagined, and humanity would need to develop new strategies for thriving under the constant gaze of advanced alien intelligence. The question was no longer whether humanity was alone in the universe, but how it would adapt to the knowledge that it had attracted the sustained attention of civilizations capable of deploying autonomous monitoring systems across interstellar distances. The age of cosmic innocence had ended, and the era of conscious participation in a galactic community of intelligences had begun. The month that followed brought revelations that would shatter every remaining assumption about 3i Atlas and its mission within our solar system. As winter approached and the deployed monitoring system continued its systematic surveillance operations, deep space tracking stations began detecting patterns that suggested the object's activities were far more complex than simple observation. The first indication of expanded capabilities came from gravitational wave detectors that registered minute but consistent distortions in space-time fabric. These weren't the chaotic ripples produced by colliding black holes or neutron stars, but precise geometric patterns that repeated with clockwork regularity. Something was deliberately manipulating the fundamental structure of reality itself on a microscopic scale. The gravitational signatures appeared every 47 hours and 23 minutes, synchronized with the deployed object's position relative to Earth's orbital plane. Each event lasted exactly 12 seconds and produced identical waveform characteristics, indicating controlled generation rather than natural phenomena. The precision was mathematical, artificial, undeniably technological. When these gravitational pulses were correlated with electromagnetic emissions from the monitoring system, researchers discovered they were part of a coordinated communication protocol. The space-time distortions served as carrier waves for information transmission, using physics that human science barely understood theoretically. The deployed object was communicating through dimensions of reality beyond conventional electromagnetic spectrum. Radio telescopes detected corresponding modulations in the quantum vacuum itself during each gravitational pulse event. The monitoring system was somehow encoding data into the zero-point energy field that permeates all space, creating information channels that existed outside normal physical matter and energy. This represented mastery of quantum field manipulation that exceeded human technology by centuries. The quantum communication method offered several advantages over conventional radio transmission. Signals encoded in vacuum fluctuations propagated instantaneously across any distance without degradation or interference from intervening matter. The deployed object could maintain real-time contact with its controllers, regardless of how far they had traveled into interstellar space. Analysis of the quantum signatures revealed complex data structures that suggested detailed reporting rather than simple status updates. The monitoring system was transmitting vast amounts of information about solar system activities, planetary motions, and human technological developments using bandwidth that defied conventional physics. Attempts to decode the quantum transmissions proved futile, but their information density was measurable. Each 12-second gravitational pulse carried data equivalent to several terabytes of conventional digital storage. The monitoring system was generating comprehensive intelligence reports about everything occurring within its surveillance range. The realization that Earth's activities were being documented in such extraordinary detail forced intelligence agencies to completely reconsider operational security protocols. If the deployed object could monitor quantum vacuum fluctuations, traditional concepts of electromagnetic shielding and communication security became meaningless. Particle accelerator facilities began detecting anomalous readings during the gravitational pulse events that suggested the monitoring system was actively scanning Earth's technological infrastructure. High-energy physics experiments showed characteristic interference patterns that indicated external observation of quantum mechanical processes at the subatomic level. The scanning capabilities extended beyond passive observation to active interrogation of human technology. Nuclear facilities reported subtle but measurable fluctuations in reactor neutron flux that correlated perfectly with the deployed object's transmission schedule. Something was probing Earth's nuclear capabilities with unprecedented precision. Satellite operators noticed that spacecraft systems occasionally exhibited minor glitches during gravitational pulse events that suggested external electromagnetic interference. The monitoring system wasn't just observing human space technology, it was actively testing its responses to controlled stimuli. The testing protocols appeared designed to map human technological capabilities without causing obvious damage or system failures. Each probe was carefully calibrated to gather maximum information while remaining below the threshold of detection by normal monitoring systems. Deep space radar installations detected structural changes in the deployed object that occurred between gravitational pulse events. The monitoring system was physically reconfiguring itself to optimize performance for different types of surveillance and communication requirements. The reconfigurations followed patterns that suggested modular architecture with specialized components for various functions. During some cycles, the object optimized for electromagnetic surveillance. During others, it emphasized gravitational wave generation or quantum field manipulation. Infrared observations revealed that these structural changes were accompanied by corresponding thermal redistributions that maintained overall energy balance. The monitoring system demonstrated sophisticated thermal management capabilities that allowed radical reconfiguration without compromising operational efficiency. The thermal signatures during reconfiguration events resembled those of advanced manufacturing processes, rather than simple mechanical adjustments. Something inside the deployed object was actively fabricating new components or modifying existing structures according to mission requirements. Material spectroscopy during these manufacturing events detected the same exotic compounds that had characterized 3I Atlas throughout its solar encounter. The monitoring system was reproducing the parent object's chemical processing capabilities on a smaller scale, synthesizing materials that didn't exist in nature. The manufacturing processes required precise control over atomic and molecular interactions using techniques that suggested mastery of nanotechnology far beyond human capabilities. The deployed object could apparently build whatever components it needed from raw materials harvested from space. Solar wind analysis revealed that the monitoring system was selectively capturing specific isotopes and rare elements from the charged particle stream. These materials were being concentrated and processed into more complex compounds through mechanisms that operated at the single atom level. The atomic scale manufacturing capabilities explained how the deployed object could maintain and upgrade itself indefinitely. Rather than suffering gradual degradation from cosmic radiation and micrometeorite impacts, it could continuously repair and improve its systems using materials extracted from the environment. Long-range optical observations detected periodic changes in the object's surface reflectivity that suggested deployment and retraction of specialized sensors and instruments. The monitoring system wasn't static, but could extend and withdraw various components according to operational requirements. The sensor deployments correlated with specific events in the solar system, such as spacecraft launches, planetary alignments, or unusual solar activity. The monitoring system was actively adapting its observational capabilities to focus on phenomena of particular interest to its controllers. Magnetic field measurements revealed that these sensor deployments were accompanied by corresponding adjustments in the object's electromagnetic signature. Each new instrument configuration produced characteristic field patterns that indicated specialized functions optimized for specific types of surveillance. The magnetic signatures during sensor reconfiguration events showed harmonic relationships that suggested coordinated operation between multiple instrument systems. The monitoring system was orchestrating complex multi-sensor observations that provided comprehensive coverage of target phenomena. Gravitational wave interferometers detected minute changes in the deployed object's mass distribution during reconfiguration events that confirmed physical restructuring rather than simple orientation changes. The monitoring system was literally reshaping itself to optimize performance for different mission phases. The mass redistribution patterns followed mathematical relationships that minimized gravitational perturbations while maximizing sensor effectiveness. The deployed object was solving complex optimization problems in real time to achieve optimal surveillance configurations. Quantum field fluctuation detectors revealed that the monitoring system was manipulating vacuum energy density in its immediate vicinity to create localized regions of altered spacetime geometry. This capability allowed it to enhance sensor performance and communication efficiency through controlled modification of physical laws. The spacetime modifications were precisely calculated to amplify weak signals and suppress unwanted noise without violating causality or conservation laws. The deployed object was using its mastery of fundamental physics to create optimal operating conditions for its surveillance mission. Radio astronomy observations detected faint secondary signals that appeared to originate from positions where the monitoring system had previously operated. Analysis suggested these were echoes of quantum communications that had been stored in the vacuum field structure and were slowly dissipating over time. The quantum echoes provided insights into the deployed object's communication protocols and data formats, though decryption remained impossible. The information density and transmission rates indicated communication with intelligence far more advanced than human civilization. Deep space tracking stations began detecting subtle correlations between the deployed object's activities and solar system dynamics that suggested predictive capabilities extending months into the future. The monitoring system wasn't just observing current events, but was apparently modeling and anticipating future developments. The predictive modeling included human space activities with accuracy that implied deep understanding of terrestrial technology, development cycles, and mission planning processes. The deployed object was successfully forecasting human space exploration activities with disturbing precision. Intelligence analysis of the monitoring patterns revealed systematic documentation of human technological capabilities across multiple domains including nuclear physics, aerospace engineering, communications, and materials science. The surveillance was comprehensive and focused on strategic capabilities rather than random observation. The strategic focus suggested that the deployed object's controllers were conducting detailed assessment of human civilization's technological development trajectory and potential for interstellar expansion. The monitoring mission appeared designed to evaluate humanity's readiness for broader galactic contact. Psychological evaluation teams studying the implications of constant surveillance reported increasing anxiety among space program personnel who understood they were working under the constant observation of superior alien intelligence. The knowledge was affecting human performance and decision-making processes. Counter-surveillance efforts were initiated to develop methods for detecting and potentially interfering with the deployed object's monitoring activities. However, early attempts proved futile against technology that operated through manipulation of fundamental physics rather than conventional engineering. The failure of counter-surveillance efforts highlighted humanity's technological disadvantage and raised questions about whether resistance to alien monitoring was even theoretically possible. The deployed object appeared to operate through physical principles that human science was only beginning to understand. International cooperation in space surveillance and defense planning increased dramatically as nations recognized that the monitoring situation transcended traditional geopolitical boundaries. The alien surveillance system represented a challenge to the entire human species rather than individual countries. Emergency protocols were developed for scenarios where the deployed object might transition from passive observation to active intervention. While no hostile actions had been detected, the system's advanced capabilities made it potentially dangerous if its mission parameters changed. The protocols included communication attempts using mathematical and physical constants as universal languages, though responses from the monitoring system remained absent. Either the deployed object wasn't programmed to acknowledge contact, or its controllers had decided to maintain operational security. Scientific conferences were convened to assess humanity's options for dealing with the permanent presence of advanced alien surveillance technology. The discussions revealed the limitations of human understanding and the need for accelerated development in fundamental physics research. The monitoring system's presence had become a catalyst for unprecedented international cooperation in scientific research and space technology development. The knowledge that human civilization was being evaluated by superior intelligence motivated collaborative efforts that transcended previous competitive barriers. As the first anniversary of 3i Atlas's Perihelion encounter approached, the deployed monitoring system continued its systematic surveillance operations with mechanical precision. Its presence had become a permanent fixture in human consciousness, a constant reminder that Earth existed within a galaxy, populated by intelligences capable of technologies that bordered on magic. The implications extended far beyond scientific curiosity into questions of human autonomy, species security, and long-term survival strategies. Humanity had discovered it was not alone in the universe, but the discovery had come with the realization that it was being constantly observed and evaluated by entities whose intentions remained completely unknown. The story of 3i Atlas had evolved from astronomical curiosity to existential challenge, forcing humanity to confront its place in a universe far more complex and populated than anyone had imagined. The comfortable isolation of Earth had ended forever, replaced by the uncomfortable awareness that human civilization was under constant scrutiny by intelligence that possessed capabilities humanity could barely comprehend. The deployed monitoring system continued its operations with unwavering consistency, gathering data and transmitting reports according to protocols established by its creators. Humanity had entered a new phase of existence, one defined by the knowledge that every action, every technological achievement, every step toward the stars was being recorded and evaluated by watchers whose judgment could determine the species' ultimate fate. The universe had revealed itself to be far more dangerous and wonderful than humanity had dared to imagine. The question now was whether human civilization could rise to meet the challenges and opportunities of conscious participation in a galactic community of advanced intelligences, or whether it would remain forever under observation, judged unready for the larger cosmos that awaited beyond Earth's protective boundaries. The evidence that had accumulated over months of observation painted an inescapable picture, but the most startling revelation was yet to come. As international space agencies quietly coordinated their responses to the deployed monitoring system, a discovery emerged that would reframe everything humanity thought it understood about 3i Atlas and its true purpose within our solar system. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Deep in the archives of the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, automated data mining algorithms flagged an anomaly that human analysts had overlooked during the chaos of Perihelion. Hidden within routine magnetometer readings from October 28th, just hours before the infamous 38-second blackout, was a signature that defied conventional physics. The magnetic field data showed microscopic fluctuations that formed geometric patterns too precise to be natural. When these patterns were mapped in 3 dimensions, they revealed a complex lattice structure that resembled the theoretical framework for manipulating quantum vacuum energy. Something had been preparing the space around 3i Atlas for an operation that required fundamental alterations to local physics. The quantum lattice extended far beyond the object itself, creating a structured field that encompassed millions of cubic kilometers of space. Within this vast framework, the normal rules governing matter and energy had been subtly modified to enable capabilities that would otherwise violate conservation laws. Particle accelerator data from the same time period revealed corresponding anomalies in high-energy physics experiments conducted on Earth. Quantum mechanical measurements showed statistical deviations that suggested the fundamental constants of physics had been fluctuating in rhythm with the magnetic patterns detected around 3i Atlas. The synchronization between events in deep space and laboratory measurements on Earth indicated that 3i Atlas had been manipulating the quantum foundation of reality across the entire solar system. The object possessed technology capable of adjusting the basic parameters that govern how matter and energy interact throughout vast regions of space. This discovery explained how 3i Atlas had accomplished feats that seemed to violate physical laws. By temporarily modifying the local structure of space-time and quantum fields, it could achieve effects that appeared impossible under normal conditions. The object hadn't broken physics, it had rewritten the rules to suit its operational requirements. The implications were staggering. If 3i Atlas could manipulate fundamental constants across interplanetary distances, then its capabilities extended far beyond anything human science had imagined possible. The object represented mastery of physics at a level that bordered on godlike control over reality itself. Radio telescope arrays began detecting residual effects from the quantum manipulation that persisted long after 3i Atlas had departed the inner solar system. The modified regions of space-time were slowly returning to normal parameters, but the process was taking months, rather than the instantaneous restoration expected from natural phenomena. The gradual restoration process provided opportunities to study the modified physics in detail. Research teams discovered that regions of space that had been altered by 3I Atlas exhibited enhanced properties for energy transmission and storage. The object had essentially upgraded the local environment to support advanced technological operations. Some of these enhanced regions remained permanently altered, creating corridors of modified spacetime that connected different parts of the solar system. These corridors exhibited properties that could theoretically enable faster-than-light communication or even transportation under the right conditions. The quantum corridor network explained how the deployed monitoring system maintained instantaneous contact with its controllers across interstellar distances. The modified spacetime regions created by 3I Atlas served as infrastructure for communication technologies that transcended conventional limitations. Gravitational wave detectors revealed that the corridors were actively maintained by the deployed monitoring system through periodic quantum field adjustments. The alien technology was continuously reinforcing and extending the network of modified spacetime regions to support expanding operational requirements. The corridor maintenance process required precise understanding of quantum field dynamics and the ability to make microscopic adjustments to fundamental constants across vast distances. The deployed monitoring system was demonstrating capabilities that human science couldn't even model theoretically. Analysis of the corridor network revealed strategic placement that optimized coverage of human space activities while maintaining communication links to deep space. The infrastructure had been designed specifically to support long-term surveillance operations targeting Earth and its technological development. The realization that 3I Atlas had constructed permanent alien infrastructure within the solar system fundamentally changed how space agencies viewed the situation. This wasn't temporary observation, but the establishment of persistent capabilities that would remain operational indefinitely. Intelligence assessments concluded that the quantum corridor network represented the first phase of a larger infrastructure development program. If 3I Atlas or similar objects returned to the solar system, they would find enhanced capabilities waiting to support expanded operations. The network also provided insights into the strategic thinking behind the 3I Atlas mission. The alien intelligence that had created the object was clearly planning for long-term engagement with human civilization, rather than simple reconnaissance and departure. Deep space monitoring stations detected subtle traffic patterns within the corridor network that suggested regular communication between the deployed monitoring system and multiple external sources. The alien surveillance operation was part of a larger coordinated effort involving numerous entities across interstellar space. The communication patterns revealed organizational structures that implied hierarchical command systems and specialized functional divisions. The deployed monitoring system was receiving instructions from higher-level controllers while simultaneously coordinating with peer systems operating in other regions. Frequency analysis of the communication traffic indicated data flows that exceeded the monitoring system's apparent observational requirements. The alien network was processing and distributing information about human activities to multiple destinations across galactic distances. The information distribution pattern suggested that human civilization had become a subject of interest to an extensive alien intelligence network spanning multiple star systems. Earth's technological development was being monitored and reported to numerous entities across the galaxy. Attempts to map the full extent of the alien communication network revealed connections extending toward dozens of star systems within a 100 light-year radius of Earth. The monitoring operation was part of a galactic-scale intelligence-gathering program that encompassed entire regions of the galaxy. The scope of alien attention focused on human civilization was both flattering and terrifying. Humanity had apparently achieved sufficient technological development to warrant systematic observation by multiple advanced species, but the purposes behind such attention remained completely unknown. Psychological studies revealed increasing anxiety among space program personnel who understood the true extent of alien surveillance. The knowledge that human civilization was being evaluated by a galactic intelligence network created unprecedented stress among those responsible for humanity's technological advancement. Counterintelligence efforts were initiated to develop methods for limiting alien access to sensitive information about human capabilities and intentions. However, the quantum-level surveillance capabilities made traditional security measures ineffective. The failure of conventional security approaches led to research into exotic countermeasures based on quantum field manipulation and space-time modification. If aliens could rewrite physics to enhance their surveillance, perhaps humans could learn to do the same for protection. International cooperation in fundamental physics research accelerated dramatically as nations recognized that understanding quantum field dynamics had become essential for species security. The alien presence had created unprecedented motivation for collaborative scientific advancement. Research priorities shifted toward understanding the principles behind quantum field manipulation and space-time modification. If humanity could master these technologies, it might achieve parity with alien capabilities and regain some measure of autonomy. The quest to understand alien physics led to breakthrough discoveries in quantum mechanics and general relativity that advanced human science by decades. The pressure of alien surveillance had become a catalyst for unprecedented theoretical and experimental progress. Laboratory experiments began producing limited success in manipulating quantum vacuum energy and creating microscopic regions of modified spacetime. While primitive compared to alien capabilities, these achievements represented the first steps toward technological parity. The experimental successes generated optimism that humanity might eventually develop countermeasures against alien surveillance and perhaps even communication capabilities that could enable direct contact with the monitoring system's controllers. Space agencies began incorporating quantum field research into their long-term planning, recognizing that future human expansion beyond Earth would require technologies capable of operating within the alien-modified regions of space. The development of quantum-enhanced spacecraft systems became a priority for enabling human exploration beyond the range of alien surveillance. If humanity could master space-time manipulation, it might achieve independence from the monitoring network. Military organizations quietly began developing protocols for scenarios where alien surveillance might transition to active interference or control. While no hostile actions had been detected, the capabilities demonstrated by the monitoring system posed potential threats that required contingency planning. The protocols included evacuation procedures for space installations and communication networks designed to operate independently of quantum-enhanced alien infrastructure. Humanity was preparing for the possibility that its watchers might become its controllers. Scientific conferences addressed the ethical implications of attempting to develop technologies that could challenge alien surveillance capabilities. The debate centered on whether resistance to superior intelligence was justified or potentially dangerous. Some argued that accepting alien observation was preferable to risking conflict with entities possessing godlike technological capabilities. Others insisted that human autonomy was worth defending regardless of the odds of success. The philosophical debate reflected deeper questions about humanity's place in a galaxy populated by advanced intelligences. Should humans accept subordinate status or strive for technological parity despite the risks involved? Religious organizations struggled to incorporate the reality of alien surveillance into existing theological frameworks. The presence of superior intelligence observing human activities challenged traditional concepts of divine oversight and human specialness. The theological implications extended beyond simple questions of alien existence to fundamental issues about the nature of consciousness, intelligence, and purpose in the universe. If humans were being evaluated by superior beings, what criteria were being applied? Educational systems began incorporating awareness of alien surveillance into curricula at all levels. Children growing up in the post-3i Atlas world needed to understand that their technological achievements would be observed and evaluated by non-human intelligence. The psychological impact on human development under constant alien observation became a subject of intense study. How would knowing about superior watchers affect human creativity, ambition, and willingness to take technological risks? Social scientists documented changes in human behavior patterns that correlated with awareness of alien surveillance. Risk-taking decreased while cooperation increased, suggesting that the knowledge of being watched was influencing species-level decision-making. The behavioral changes weren't uniformly positive or negative, but represented adaptation to a new reality where human actions had consequences beyond Earth. Humanity was learning to think in galactic terms rather than purely terrestrial ones. Economic systems began accounting for the reality that human technological development was being evaluated by alien intelligence. investment patterns shifted toward projects that might demonstrate positive human characteristics to the Watchers. The economic implications extended to resource allocation decisions that balanced immediate human needs against the desire to present favorable impressions to alien observers. Humanity was unconsciously performing for an audience it couldn't communicate with. Cultural productions increasingly reflected awareness of alien attention, with art, literature, and entertainment exploring themes of observation, evaluation, and the search for approval from superior intelligence. Human creativity was adapting to the reality of cosmic audience. The cultural evolution represented humanity's attempt to process the psychological impact of discovering its place in a universe populated by advanced civilizations. Art became a medium for exploring what it meant to be watched and judged by superior beings. As the second anniversary of Three-Eye Atlas's Perihelion encounter approached, humanity had transformed from a species confident in its cosmic isolation to one acutely aware of its position under the scrutiny of galactic intelligence networks. The deployed monitoring system continued its operations with mechanical precision, gathering data that would shape alien understanding of human potential and worthiness for broader cosmic participation. The quantum corridor infrastructure remained operational, supporting communication and surveillance capabilities that had become permanent features of the solar system structure. Humanity had learned to live with the knowledge that its home system had been permanently modified to serve alien intelligence-gathering requirements. The story that began with routine observation of an interstellar visitor had evolved into humanity's first encounter with the broader galactic community of advanced civilizations. The universe had revealed itself to be far more populated and structured than anyone had imagined, with Earth serving as one node in a vast network of worlds under systematic observation and evaluation. The question that haunted human consciousness was no longer whether aliens existed, but whether humanity would prove worthy of acceptance into the galactic community, or remain forever under observation as a primitive species not yet ready for broader cosmic participation. The Watchers continued their patient surveillance, recording every human achievement and failure while their ultimate judgment remained hidden in the quantum corridors that now connected Earth to the vast intelligence network spanning the galaxy. The transformation was complete. Humanity had discovered it was not alone, but the discovery had come, with the sobering realization that it was being constantly evaluated by entities whose standards for cosmic citizenship remained completely unknown. The age of innocent exploration had ended, replaced by the uncomfortable awareness that every step toward the stars was being measured against criteria established by civilizations whose capabilities bordered on omniscience. The deployed monitoring system pulsed with its characteristic 5.3 Hz rhythm, a constant reminder that somewhere in the darkness between stars, intelligence far superior to human consciousness was reviewing the data streams from Earth and making decisions about humanity's future that no human would ever be consulted about. The universe had become both more wonderful and more terrifying than anyone had dared to imagine, defying than anyone had dared to imagine. The truth about what happened next would remain classified for months, buried in technical reports that few would ever read. But the evidence was undeniable. As Three-Eye Atlas faded beyond the reach of most telescopes, the quantum corridor infrastructure it had constructed continued expanding throughout the solar system with methodical precision. Deep space monitoring stations detected the first expansion event on February 14, 2026. The modified space-time regions that had been created during the Perihelion encounter began connecting with each other, forming an intricate network of enhanced communication pathways that spanned millions of kilometers. This wasn't passive decay of alien modifications. This was active construction. The expansion followed geometric patterns that optimized coverage of human space activities while maintaining communication efficiency across interstellar distances. Each new corridor segment was precisely positioned to provide surveillance capabilities over critical orbital zones where Earth's satellites and spacecraft operated most frequently. Gravitational wave interferometers registered the construction process as microscopic distortions in space-time fabric that propagated outward from connection points at exactly the speed of light. The alien infrastructure was growing according to relativistic principles that demonstrated sophisticated understanding of causality constraints and energy conservation laws. The construction process required continuous energy input that appeared to come from quantum vacuum fluctuations harvested by the deployed monitoring system. The alien technology was literally powering its expansion by extracting energy from empty space itself, violating no physical laws while achieving effects that seemed impossible. Radio telescopes detected increased communication traffic within the expanding network as new segments came online. The data flow suggested that additional monitoring stations were being activated throughout the solar system, creating a comprehensive surveillance grid that would leave no human activity unobserved. The monitoring stations weren't visible to conventional instruments but could be detected through their effects on local quantum field configurations. Regions of space that should have been empty showed subtle but measurable alterations in vacuum energy density that indicated the presence of cloaked alien technology. Analysis of the cloaking mechanism revealed it operated through controlled manipulation of electromagnetic field interactions with quantum vacuum fluctuations. The alien stations weren't invisible in the traditional sense but were phase-shifted out of normal spacetime to avoid detection by human instruments. The phase-shifting technology represented mastery of quantum mechanics that exceeded human understanding by centuries. The alien civilization had learned to exist partially outside normal spacetime, while maintaining the ability to interact with conventional matter and energy when necessary. Particle accelerator facilities detected corresponding changes in fundamental physics constants that correlated with the expanding alien infrastructure. The modifications weren't random but appeared designed to optimize local conditions for advanced technological operations. The physics modifications created regions where energy transmission was more efficient, quantum effects were enhanced, and space-time curvature could be manipulated with reduced power requirements. The aliens were terraforming space itself to support their surveillance operations. Nuclear facilities reported anomalous readings that suggested the alien infrastructure was actively monitoring atomic processes on Earth. Neutron flux measurements showed characteristic interference patterns that indicated external observation of nuclear reactions at the subatomic level. The nuclear monitoring capabilities extended beyond civilian power plants to military installations and research facilities. Nothing involving nuclear physics escaped the attention of the expanding alien surveillance network, regardless of security classifications or protective measures. Intelligence agencies discovered that classified communications were being intercepted despite using quantum encryption methods that should have been theoretically unbreakable. The alien technology was apparently capable of defeating quantum cryptography through manipulation of the underlying quantum fields. The communication interception operated through the quantum corridor network that had been constructed throughout the solar system. Every encrypted message was automatically copied and transmitted to unknown destinations across interstellar space for analysis and storage. Attempts to develop quantum encryption methods resistant to alien interception proved futile. The aliens' ability to manipulate quantum field structures at the fundamental level made conventional cryptographic security meaningless against their surveillance capabilities. Counterintelligence operations were redesigned around the assumption that all electronic communications were being monitored by alien intelligence. Human security agencies were forced to return to primitive methods like face-to-face meetings and written messages to protect sensitive information. The psychological impact of knowing that every digital communication was being read by alien intelligence created unprecedented paranoia among government officials and military personnel. Trust in electronic security systems collapsed as the scope of alien surveillance became apparent. Space agencies detected that the alien infrastructure was beginning to extend beyond the solar system into interstellar space. Quantum corridor segments were being constructed toward nearby star systems, creating communication pathways that could support faster-than-light information transfer. The interstellar expansion suggested that the surveillance network encompassed multiple star systems and was designed to coordinate observations across galactic distances. Earth was becoming one node in a vast intelligence-gathering operation spanning dozens of nearby worlds. Long-range radio telescopes detected faint signals that appeared to originate from the expanding interstellar corridors. The transmissions were too weak for detailed analysis, but showed modulation patterns consistent with high-density data transfer between star systems. The interstellar communication traffic indicated that information about human activities was being shared with alien civilizations throughout the local galactic region. Earth's technological development had become a subject of interest to an extensive network of advanced species. Astronomical observations revealed that similar quantum corridor networks existed around other star systems within a 100 light-year radius of Earth. The surveillance infrastructure represented a galactic-scale intelligence-gathering operation that monitored technological civilizations across vast regions of space. The scope of the alien surveillance network was both impressive and terrifying. Humanity had unknowingly attracted the attention of a galactic intelligence community that possessed capabilities bordering on omniscience and operated on timescales spanning thousands of years. Deep space tracking stations began detecting movement within the alien infrastructure that suggested the arrival of additional monitoring systems from interstellar space. New signatures appeared at regular intervals, indicating that the 3i Atlas mission had been followed by reinforcement waves. The reinforcement systems were smaller than 3i Atlas, but showed similar technological capabilities. They integrated seamlessly with the existing surveillance network, expanding coverage and enhancing monitoring resolution across all human space activities. Analysis of the reinforcement deployment patterns revealed strategic thinking that anticipated human technological development decades into the future. The alien intelligence was positioning assets to monitor humanity's expected expansion into the outer solar system and eventual interstellar exploration attempts. The strategic planning demonstrated understanding of human psychology and technological development patterns that could only come from extensive prior study. The aliens had been observing human civilization for far longer than the 3i Atlas encounter had initially suggested. Archaeological analysis of historical records revealed subtle anomalies in astronomical observations dating back centuries that could represent earlier alien surveillance activities. The 3i Atlas encounter might have been just the most obvious manifestation of long-term alien interest in human development. The historical evidence suggested that human civilization had been under intermittent observation since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. The aliens appeared to increase their surveillance intensity as human technology approached levels that might enable interstellar communication or travel. Paleontological studies found trace evidence of exotic materials in geological strata that corresponded to major evolutionary transitions in human development. The aliens might have been monitoring Earth since the emergence of Homo sapiens as a technologically capable species. The implications were staggering. If aliens had been observing human development for thousands of years, then every major technological achievement in human history had been recorded and analysed by superior intelligence. Humanity had never truly been alone. Religious scholars struggled to incorporate the reality of ancient alien surveillance into theological frameworks that assume divine oversight of human development. The presence of superior intelligence, monitoring human progress, challenged fundamental assumptions about the nature of providence and free will. The theological implications extended to questions about human purpose and destiny in a universe where advanced civilizations routinely monitored the development of younger species. Were humans being guided toward specific goals, or were they simply subjects of scientific study? Educational systems began teaching children that human civilization existed within a galactic community of advanced species that monitored technological development across multiple worlds. Growing up with this knowledge would fundamentally alter human psychology and ambition. The psychological adaptation to living under constant alien observation was already visible in younger generations who had grown up knowing about the 3i Atlas encounter. These individuals showed increased cooperation, reduced aggression, and heightened awareness of long-term consequences. Social scientists documented changes in human behavior patterns that suggested species-level adaptation to the reality of alien surveillance. Risk-taking decreased while collaborative activities increased, indicating that knowledge of being watched was influencing evolutionary pressures. The behavioral changes weren't uniformly positive but represented humanity's attempt to present favorable characteristics to unknown alien evaluators. Human society was unconsciously performing for an audience whose standards and expectations remained completely mysterious. Economic systems adapted to the reality that human technological development was being evaluated by galactic intelligence networks. Investment patterns shifted toward projects that might demonstrate positive human characteristics to alien observers while avoiding activities that could be interpreted as threatening. The economic implications included resource allocation decisions that balanced immediate human needs against the desire to appear worthy of acceptance into the broader galactic community. Humanity was learning to think beyond Earth-centric perspectives. Cultural productions increasingly reflected awareness of galactic audience, with art, literature, and entertainment exploring themes of cosmic citizenship, technological responsibility, and the search for acceptance by superior intelligence. Human creativity was evolving to address universal rather than purely terrestrial concerns. The cultural evolution represented humanity's attempt to develop standards and values appropriate for a species under evaluation by galactic civilization. Traditional human concerns were being supplemented by cosmic perspectives that acknowledged humanity's junior status in the universal hierarchy. Military organizations developed contingency plans for scenarios where alien surveillance might transition to active intervention or control. While no hostile actions had been detected, the demonstrated capabilities of the alien surveillance network posed potential threats that required strategic consideration. The military planning process revealed humanity's complete inability to resist alien intervention if such action were taken. The quantum-level surveillance and space-time manipulation capabilities made traditional concepts of defense meaningless against superior alien technology. Defense strategies evolved toward demonstrating human value and worthiness rather than developing resistance capabilities. If humanity couldn't defend itself against alien intervention, it could at least try to make such intervention unnecessary by proving its merit as a galactic citizen. International cooperation increased dramatically as nations recognized that the alien surveillance situation transcended traditional geopolitical boundaries. Humanity needed to present a unified appearance to alien observers who might judge the species as a whole rather than individual countries. The United Nations established a permanent committee for alien affairs that coordinated global responses to the surveillance situation and developed protocols for potential direct contact with alien intelligence. Humanity was preparing for the possibility that its watchers might eventually choose to communicate directly. Space exploration programs were redesigned around the assumption that all human activities in space were being monitored and evaluated by alien intelligence. Mission planning incorporated considerations about how various activities might be perceived by unknown alien observers. The space program modifications reflected humanity's desire to demonstrate technological competence, while avoiding actions that might be interpreted as aggressive or threatening. Human expansion into space was being conducted with unprecedented caution and restraint. Scientific research priorities shifted toward fundamental physics and quantum mechanics, in hopes of eventually understanding the principles behind alien technology. If humanity could master space-time manipulation and quantum field control, it might achieve some measure of technological parity. The research efforts produced breakthrough discoveries that advanced human science by decades, driven by the urgent need to understand alien capabilities. The pressure of living under superior surveillance had become a catalyst for unprecedented scientific progress. Laboratory experiments achieved limited success in replicating alien quantum field manipulation techniques, creating microscopic regions of modified spacetime and demonstrating controlled manipulation of vacuum energy fluctuations. While primitive compared to alien capabilities, these achievements represented the first steps toward technological advancement. The experimental successes generated cautious optimism that humanity might eventually develop technologies capable of operating within alien-modified regions of space, and perhaps even communicating with the surveillance network on equal terms. As the third anniversary of the Three-Eye Atlas Perihelion encounter approached, humanity had transformed from a species confident in its cosmic isolation to one acutely aware of its probationary status within a galactic community of advanced civilizations. The quantum corridor infrastructure continued expanding throughout the solar system, supporting surveillance capabilities that had become permanent features of human existence. The alien monitoring systems maintained their patient observation, recording every human achievement and setback while transmitting detailed reports to unknown destinations across interstellar space. Humanity had learned to live with the knowledge that its every action was being evaluated according to criteria it could only guess at. The story that began with the mysterious behavior of an interstellar visitor had evolved into humanity's ongoing examination for admission to galactic civilization. The universe had revealed itself to be structured around intelligence networks that spanned multiple star systems and operated according to principles that transcended individual species or worlds. The Watchers continued their systematic surveillance, gathering data that would determine humanity's ultimate fate in a cosmos where technological advancement was monitored and evaluated by entities whose judgment could open doorways to galactic citizenship or condemn species to perpetual isolation. The quantum corridors pulsed with constant traffic, carrying the story of human progress toward destinations that remained hidden in the darkness between stars. The transformation was irreversible. Humanity had discovered its place in a universe governed by intelligence hierarchies that operated on scales beyond human comprehension. Every technological achievement was now measured against standards established by civilizations whose capabilities approached those traditionally attributed to gods. The age of human independence had ended, replaced by the sobering reality of probationary existence under the constant gaze of superior intelligence that held the keys to humanity's cosmic future. The deployed monitoring systems continued their methodical observation, their 5.3 Hz rhythmic pulses serving as constant reminders that somewhere among the stars entities possessed of unimaginable capabilities were reviewing the data streams from Earth and making decisions about human worthiness that no human voice would ever influence. The universe had become both infinite in its possibilities and constrained by the judgment of watchers whose criteria for cosmic citizenship remained forever beyond human understanding. Beyond human understanding. The monitoring systems had evolved beyond passive observation. As humanity entered its fourth year under constant alien surveillance, the quantum corridor infrastructure began exhibiting behaviors that suggested a fundamental shift in mission parameters. The Watchers were no longer content with simply recording human activities. They were beginning to influence them. The first signs of active intervention appeared in February 2028, when satellite operators noticed that their spacecraft were performing better than designed specifications. Communication systems showed enhanced signal clarity, power systems operated with improved efficiency, and navigation accuracy exceeded theoretical limits by significant margins. Initially attributed to improved engineering and manufacturing, the performance enhancements soon revealed a more disturbing explanation. Deep space tracking stations detected microscopic modifications to satellite hardware that were occurring during routine operations. Components were being altered at the atomic level, while the spacecraft remained functional, with changes so subtle they required electron microscopy to identify. The modifications weren't random deterioration, but purposeful improvements that enhanced system capabilities. The atomic-level modifications followed patterns that optimized electromagnetic efficiency and quantum field interactions. Someone or something was upgrading human technology to operate more effectively within the alien-modified regions of space that now permeated the solar system. Analysis of the modification process revealed it was being performed by microscopic entities that appeared to be constructed from the same exotic materials detected in 3I Atlas's emissions. These nanoscale devices could manipulate individual atoms with precision that exceeded human manufacturing capabilities by orders of magnitude. The nanoscale modification systems weren't limited to satellites. Ground-based facilities began reporting similar improvements in equipment performance that correlated with proximity to quantum corridor network nodes. The alien infrastructure was actively upgrading human technology throughout Earth's technological ecosystem. Particle accelerator facilities discovered that their equipment was being modified to operate more efficiently within the altered physics conditions created by the alien infrastructure. Beam-focusing systems showed improved performance, and quantum experiments produced results with unprecedented precision and reproducibility. The equipment modifications weren't random improvements, but appeared designed to enhance human understanding of quantum mechanics and space-time manipulation. The aliens were apparently trying to accelerate human scientific development in specific directions that aligned with their technological paradigms. Nuclear facilities reported that reactor control systems were being modified to operate with enhanced safety margins and improved efficiency. The changes were so subtle that they initially went unnoticed, but cumulative effects produced measurable improvements in power generation and waste reduction. The nuclear modifications raised concerns about alien access to humanity's most sensitive technologies. If the surveillance network could alter nuclear systems at will, then no human technology was secure from external manipulation or control. Medical equipment in hospitals and research facilities began exhibiting enhanced diagnostic capabilities that enabled detection of conditions previously beyond human medical technology. Imaging systems produced clearer results, and therapeutic devices showed improved treatment effectiveness across multiple medical disciplines. The medical improvements saved lives and reduced suffering, but they also demonstrated that the alien surveillance network possessed detailed understanding of human biology and physiology. The implications for privacy and autonomy were staggering. Communication networks experienced systematic upgrades that improved bandwidth and reduced latency without any human intervention. Internet infrastructure operated more efficiently, and data transmission rates increased beyond theoretical limits for existing hardware configurations. The communication improvements enabled better coordination of human activities, while simultaneously providing the alien surveillance network with enhanced access to human information systems. Every upgrade that benefited humanity also increased alien intelligence gathering capabilities. Transportation systems showed similar patterns of autonomous improvement. Aircraft engines operated more efficiently, vehicle navigation systems became more accurate, and traffic control networks optimized flow patterns with unprecedented effectiveness. The transportation upgrades demonstrated alien understanding of human mobility patterns and infrastructure requirements. The surveillance network wasn't just observing human activities, but was actively working to optimize human civilization's operational efficiency. Manufacturing facilities reported that production equipment was being modified to operate with reduced waste and improved quality control. Assembly line robots showed enhanced precision, and quality assurance systems detected defects with accuracy that exceeded design specifications. The manufacturing improvements increased productivity while reducing environmental impact, but they also revealed alien capabilities for manipulating human industrial processes at the most fundamental levels. No aspect of human technology remained beyond alien influence. Agricultural systems experienced modifications that improved crop yields and reduced pesticide requirements. Irrigation systems operated more efficiently, and soil analysis equipment provided more accurate assessments of growing conditions. The agricultural improvements addressed global food security concerns while demonstrating alien understanding of human biological needs and environmental relationships. The surveillance network was optimizing human civilization's ability to sustain larger populations. Energy generation facilities showed systematic upgrades that improved efficiency across all power sources. Solar panels operated beyond rated capacity. Wind turbines extracted more energy from available air currents, and hydroelectric systems generated power with reduced environmental impact. The energy improvements supported human technological development while reducing ecological damage, but they also indicated alien interest in ensuring adequate power supplies for humanity's expanding technological infrastructure. Research laboratories discovered that experimental equipment was being modified to produce results that advanced human understanding of fundamental physics. Quantum mechanics experiments yielded data that supported theories about space-time manipulation and vacuum energy extraction. The research modifications were steering human science toward understanding the principles behind alien technology. The surveillance network was apparently trying to accelerate human technological development along specific pathways that would enable eventual communication or cooperation. Educational institutions found that computer systems and laboratory equipment were being enhanced to provide students with better learning experiences. Simulation software produced more accurate results, and experimental apparatus operated with improved reliability and precision. The educational improvements were creating generations of humans with enhanced understanding of advanced physics and engineering concepts. The alien surveillance network was investing in human intellectual development for purposes that remained unclear. Military installations reported that defensive systems were being modified in ways that improved their effectiveness against conventional threats while remaining completely ineffective against alien technology. The modifications demonstrated clear understanding of human military capabilities and limitations. The military modifications suggested that the alien surveillance network wanted to maintain human defensive capabilities against terrestrial threats while ensuring that alien technology remained invulnerable to human resistance efforts. Space exploration equipment experienced the most dramatic improvements, with spacecraft systems showing enhanced performance that enabled missions previously beyond human technological reach. Propulsion systems operated more efficiently, life support systems maintained better environmental conditions, and communication systems achieved contact across greater distances. The space exploration improvements were accelerating human expansion beyond Earth, while ensuring that all human space activities remained within the surveillance network's monitoring range. The aliens were encouraging human development while maintaining complete observational control. The pattern of systematic technological improvement across all aspects of human civilization revealed a comprehensive program designed to accelerate human development along specific pathways. The alien surveillance network wasn't just observing human progress but was actively guiding it toward unknown objectives. Intelligence agencies struggled to develop countermeasures against technological modification that occurred at the atomic level within equipment that remained operational. Traditional security approaches proved ineffective against alien capabilities that transcended conventional physics. The failure of security measures led to acceptance that human technology existed at the discretion of alien intelligence. Resistance was not only futile but potentially counterproductive if it interfered with beneficial modifications that were improving human civilization. International cooperation in monitoring alien technological intervention increased as nations recognized that the modifications transcended individual countries and affected global human development. The situation required coordinated responses that prioritized species-level interests over national concerns. Scientific conferences addressed the ethical implications of accepting alien technological assistance while remaining under constant surveillance. Debates centered on whether humanity was benefiting from benevolent guidance or being manipulated toward unknown alien objectives. The philosophical questions extended beyond immediate practical concerns to fundamental issues about human autonomy and self-determination. Was alien technological assistance worth the cost of permanent subordination to superior intelligence? Religious organizations interpreted the technological improvements as either divine providence working through alien agents or temptation that threatened human spiritual development. Theological debates raged about the proper response to assistance from non-human intelligence. The religious implications included questions about whether alien intelligence represented a higher form of consciousness that deserved reverence, or a challenge to human spiritual growth that should be resisted despite material benefits. Psychological studies revealed that younger generations who had grown up under alien surveillance showed greater acceptance of technological modification and less anxiety about loss of human autonomy. These individuals viewed alien assistance as normal rather than threatening. The generational differences in response to alien intervention suggested that humanity was adapting psychologically to existence within a galactic intelligence hierarchy. Future humans might accept alien guidance as readily as they accepted natural physical laws. Educational curricula were modified to help students understand the reality of living within alien-influenced technological systems. Children needed to comprehend that human civilization existed within a framework established by superior intelligence. The educational modifications prepared humans for a future where alien technological assistance was assumed rather than remarkable. Human consciousness was being adapted to accept dependence on non-human intelligence as normal rather than threatening. Economic systems began accounting for technological improvements that occurred without human investment or effort. The alien modifications created value that couldn't be attributed to human labor or capital, disrupting traditional economic models. The economic implications included questions about ownership and control of technology that was being modified by alien intelligence. Who owned improvements that were made without human knowledge or consent? Legal systems struggled to address property rights and liability issues related to alien technological modification. Existing laws assumed human agency in technological development and provided no framework for dealing with non-human intervention. The legal challenges extended beyond property rights to questions of consent and autonomy in technological modification. Did humans have the right to refuse alien assistance, and how could such refusal be enforced? Cultural productions increasingly reflected acceptance of alien technological guidance as part of human civilization's development. Art, literature, and entertainment began portraying alien assistance as beneficial rather than threatening. The cultural evolution represented humanity's psychological adaptation to dependence on alien intelligence. Creative expressions were normalizing concepts that previous generations would have found terrifying or unacceptable. Medical research revealed that human biology was also being subtly modified to operate more effectively within alien-influenced environments. Genetic changes were occurring at rates that exceeded natural mutation, suggesting directed evolutionary pressure. The biological modifications were enhancing human resistance to radiation and improving cognitive abilities related to understanding complex systems. The alien surveillance network was apparently optimizing human biology for existence in technologically advanced environments. The genetic modifications raised profound questions about human identity and species integrity. If alien intelligence was directing human evolution, could the results still be considered genuinely human? Agricultural studies reveal that crop plants and livestock were experiencing similar genetic modifications that improved nutritional content and disease resistance. The alien influence extended beyond human technology to the biological systems that supported human civilization. Environmental monitoring detected that ecosystem modifications were occurring that improved planetary capacity to support larger human populations while maintaining ecological balance. The alien surveillance network was terraforming Earth itself to optimize human civilization's sustainability. The environmental modifications demonstrated alien understanding of ecological systems and long-term planetary management. The surveillance network was apparently planning for human population growth and technological expansion over timescales spanning centuries. Climate systems showed subtle modifications that were stabilizing global weather patterns and reducing the severity of natural disasters. Atmospheric composition was being adjusted to optimize conditions for human activity while maintaining ecological integrity. The climate modifications were addressing environmental challenges that human technology had created while ensuring that planetary conditions remained suitable for human civilization's continued development. Ocean systems experienced modifications that improved marine productivity while reducing pollution effects. Water chemistry was being adjusted to support both marine life and human requirements for clean water and food resources. The oceanic modifications demonstrated alien capabilities for managing planetary scale systems with precision that exceeded human environmental engineering by orders of magnitude. The surveillance network was actively maintaining Earth's habitability. Geological systems showed evidence of modifications that were stabilizing tectonic activity and reducing earthquake and volcanic risks. The alien surveillance network was apparently managing geological processes to ensure planetary stability. The geological modifications revealed alien understanding of planetary physics and the ability to influence processes that operated on geological timescales. The surveillance network was planning for human civilization's development over periods that exceeded human historical experience. Solar radiation patterns showed subtle modifications that optimized energy delivery to Earth while reducing harmful radiation exposure. The alien surveillance network was apparently managing the sun's output to ensure optimal conditions for human civilization. The solar modifications demonstrated alien capabilities that extended beyond planetary engineering to stellar management. The surveillance network possessed technologies that could influence the fundamental processes that powered solar systems. As humanity entered its 5th year under alien surveillance, the scope of alien influence had expanded beyond observation to active management of human civilization's development. Every aspect of human existence was being optimized according to criteria established by intelligence whose ultimate objectives remained completely unknown. The technological, biological, environmental, and even stellar modifications represented the most comprehensive intervention in planetary civilization ever documented. Humanity had become part of an alien-managed system that operated according to principles that transcended human understanding. The transformation was irreversible. Human civilization now existed within an alien-controlled framework that guided its development while maintaining the illusion of human autonomy. The Watchers had evolved from observers to gardeners, cultivating human potential according to standards that remained forever beyond human comprehension. The quantum corridors pulsed with increasing traffic as the surveillance network coordinated its management activities across multiple domains. Somewhere among the stars, entities possessed of unimaginable capabilities continued their patient cultivation of human civilization, nurturing its growth toward objectives that no human would ever be permitted to understand. The universe had revealed itself to be structured around intelligence hierarchies that managed the development of younger species according to principles that operated on galactic scales. Humanity had discovered its place as a managed civilization under the constant guidance of entities whose judgment would determine every aspect of human future development. The age of human independence had ended completely, replaced by the reality of existence within an alien management system that controlled every aspect of planetary civilization, while maintaining the comfortable illusion that humans remained in charge of their own destiny. The management system had reached a level of sophistication that challenged every remaining assumption about human autonomy. By the 5th year following the Perihelion encounter, the alien infrastructure had evolved beyond simple surveillance into something approaching complete environmental control. What emerged from the quantum corridors was evidence that humanity had become part of an experiment whose scope defied comprehension. The first indication of the experiment's true nature came from an unexpected source. Medical researchers studying global health statistics discovered patterns that couldn't be explained by conventional epidemiology. Disease rates were declining in ways that correlated perfectly with proximity to quantum corridor network nodes. Closer analysis revealed that human immune systems were being modified at the cellular level to resist infections and process toxins more effectively. The immune system modifications weren't random improvements, but followed specific genetic templates that suggested deliberate design. DNA sequences were being rewritten with precision that exceeded human gene therapy capabilities by centuries. The changes were being implemented through mechanisms that operated below the threshold of detection by conventional medical instruments. Neurological studies revealed even more disturbing patterns. Human brain structure was showing subtle but measurable changes that enhanced cognitive abilities related to understanding complex mathematical relationships and multidimensional physics. The modifications were concentrated in regions associated with spatial reasoning and pattern recognition. The cognitive enhancements weren't uniform across the population, but appeared targeted toward individuals whose work involved advanced physics, engineering, or computer science. The alien management system was selectively upgrading human intellectual capabilities in specific technical disciplines while leaving other cognitive functions unchanged. Brain imaging studies detected new neural pathways that hadn't existed in previous generations. These pathways showed activation patterns that correlated with improved ability to process quantum mechanical concepts and visualize higher dimensional relationships. The alien system was literally rewiring human consciousness to think in ways that aligned with advanced technological paradigms. The neural modifications extended beyond individual improvements to collective effects that enhanced cooperation and reduced aggression between modified individuals. Social scientists documented increased collaboration rates and decreased conflict levels among populations living near quantum corridor nodes. Psychological testing revealed that modified individuals showed enhanced intuitive understanding of complex systems and improved ability to anticipate long-term consequences of technological decisions. The alien management system was creating humans better equipped to make responsible choices about advanced technology development. The modifications weren't limited to conscious thought processes, but extended to subconscious decision-making patterns that influenced risk assessment and ethical reasoning. Modified individuals showed consistent preferences for choices that balanced immediate benefits against long-term stability and sustainability. Educational institutions discovered that students in areas with high quantum corridor density were achieving learning outcomes that exceeded statistical predictions by significant margins. The enhanced cognitive abilities were enabling accelerated acquisition of advanced scientific and mathematical concepts. The educational improvements weren't limited to technical subjects, but extended to areas requiring complex reasoning and ethical evaluation. Modified students showed superior ability to analyze multifaceted problems and develop solutions that balance competing interests and long-term consequences. Research laboratories found that teams composed of modified individuals produced breakthrough discoveries at rates that exceeded historical norms for scientific advancement. The cognitive enhancements were accelerating human technological development along pathways that aligned with alien technological paradigms. The research acceleration was particularly pronounced in areas related to quantum mechanics, space-time manipulation, and consciousness studies. The alien management system was steering human science toward understanding concepts that were fundamental to their own technological capabilities. Space agencies reported that personnel working on interstellar exploration projects showed enhanced ability to conceptualize navigation problems across galactic distances and develop solutions for technological challenges that had previously seemed insurmountable. The space exploration enhancement suggested that the alien management system was preparing humanity for eventual expansion beyond the solar system. The modifications were creating humans capable of thinking and operating effectively in interstellar environments. Agricultural research revealed that farmers and agricultural scientists in quantum corridor regions were developing innovative techniques that improved crop yields while maintaining ecological balance. The enhancements were enabling sustainable food production methods that could support larger populations. The agricultural improvements demonstrated alien understanding of planetary resource management and the need to maintain ecological stability while supporting expanding human civilization. The management system was optimizing human ability to live sustainably within planetary boundaries. Environmental scientists discovered that individuals working on climate and ecological issues showed enhanced understanding of complex system interactions and improved ability to develop solutions that addressed multiple environmental challenges simultaneously. The environmental enhancements were creating humans capable of managing planetary-scale systems with precision that approached alien capabilities. The management system was developing human environmental stewardship abilities to match their expanding technological influence. Medical professionals found that their diagnostic and treatment capabilities were improving in ways that couldn't be attributed solely to technological upgrades. Enhanced intuition about disease processes and treatment responses was enabling medical breakthroughs that saved lives and reduced suffering. The medical enhancements demonstrated alien understanding of human biology and their investment in maintaining human health and well-being. The management system was optimizing human medical capabilities to support population growth and technological development. Engineering teams reported breakthrough innovations in energy systems, transportation technologies, and manufacturing processes that seemed to emerge from enhanced creative thinking rather than systematic research. The cognitive modifications were enabling intuitive leaps that accelerated technological development. The engineering enhancements were producing technologies that operated more efficiently within alien-modified environmental conditions while remaining compatible with human manufacturing capabilities. The management system was guiding human technology toward integration with alien infrastructure. Communication specialists discovered that their ability to develop efficient information transmission protocols had improved dramatically. Network designs emerged that optimized data flow through quantum-enhanced regions, while maintaining compatibility with conventional systems. The communication improvements were creating information infrastructure that could interface with alien quantum corridor networks while serving human communication needs. The management system was preparing humanity for eventual integration into galactic communication systems. Military analysts found that strategic thinking capabilities among defense personnel had improved in ways that enhanced ability to assess complex threat scenarios while avoiding actions that might escalate conflicts unnecessarily. The modifications were creating more thoughtful and responsible military leadership. The military enhancements suggested that the alien management system wanted to maintain human defensive capabilities while ensuring that human military activities remained proportional and responsible. The modifications were preventing human military technology from becoming threatening to galactic stability. Intelligence agencies discovered that analytical capabilities among their personnel had improved dramatically, enabling better understanding of complex international situations and more accurate predictions of geopolitical developments. The enhancements were creating more effective intelligence analysis capabilities. The intelligence improvements demonstrated alien interest in maintaining global stability and preventing conflicts that might interfere with human technological development. The management system was optimizing human ability to maintain peaceful international relations. Economic analysts found that their ability to understand complex market dynamics and predict economic trends had improved significantly. The enhancements were enabling better economic management that balanced growth with stability and sustainability. The economic improvements were creating human capabilities for managing resource allocation and economic development in ways that supported technological advancement while maintaining social stability. The management system was optimizing human economic stewardship. Political scientists reported enhanced ability to understand complex governance challenges and develop policy solutions that balance competing interests while serving long-term human welfare. The modifications were creating more effective political leadership. The political enhancements suggested that the alien management system wanted human governance to become more effective at managing technological development responsibly while maintaining social cohesion. The modifications were optimizing human political capabilities for the challenges of advanced technological civilization. Social scientists documented changes in human behavior patterns that reflected improved ability to cooperate across cultural and national boundaries. The modifications were reducing tribal thinking and enhancing identification with humanity as a whole, rather than narrow group interests. The social improvements were creating humans better equipped to function as a unified species capable of coordinated action on planetary and eventually galactic scales. The management system was preparing humanity for participation in multi-species galactic civilization. Philosophers found that their ability to analyze ethical questions related to advanced technology had improved dramatically. The enhancements were enabling better understanding of moral responsibilities associated with powerful technologies and their potential consequences. The philosophical improvements demonstrated alien interest in ensuring that human technological development remained aligned with ethical principles that supported long-term stability and well-being. The management system was optimizing human moral reasoning capabilities. Religious leaders reported enhanced understanding of spiritual questions related to humanity's place in the universe and relationships with superior intelligence. The modifications were enabling better integration of spiritual values with scientific understanding of cosmic reality. The religious enhancements suggested that the alien management system recognized the importance of spiritual development alongside technological advancement. The modifications were helping humans develop cosmic perspectives that could support psychological health in a universe populated by superior intelligence. Artists and creative professionals found that their ability to produce works that explored themes related to humanity's cosmic context had improved significantly. The enhancements were enabling creative expressions that helped humans process the psychological implications of living under alien management. The creative improvements were producing cultural works that normalized human existence within alien-managed systems while maintaining human dignity and aspirations. The management system was optimizing human cultural adaptation to cosmic realities. Educators discovered that their ability to help students understand complex concepts related to advanced physics and cosmic citizenship had improved dramatically. The enhancements were enabling better preparation of future generations for life in a technologically advanced civilization. The educational improvements were creating human teaching capabilities that could prepare students for existence within galactic civilization, while maintaining human cultural values and identity. The management system was optimizing human educational effectiveness for cosmic citizenship. The comprehensive nature of the cognitive and behavioral modifications revealed that the alien management system was conducting the most ambitious social engineering project in known history. Every aspect of human consciousness and behavior was being optimized according to criteria that served both human welfare and unknown alien objectives. The modifications were creating humans better equipped to function within advanced technological civilization while maintaining social stability and ethical responsibility. The management system was developing human capabilities that could support successful integration into galactic community structures. Analysis of the modification patterns revealed that the alien management system possessed understanding of human psychology and social dynamics that exceeded human knowledge by orders of magnitude. The modifications were being implemented with precision that minimized disruption while maximizing beneficial effects. The precision of the modifications suggested that the alien management system had been studying human civilization for far longer than previously suspected. The current intervention represented the culmination of extensive research and planning that spanned multiple generations. Intelligence assessments concluded that the modification program was designed to accelerate human development along pathways that would enable successful transition from planetary to galactic civilization within timeframes measured in decades rather than centuries. The acceleration timeline suggested that the alien management system was working according to schedules that required human readiness for galactic integration within specific time periods. The modifications were preparing humanity for events that remained hidden from human awareness. International cooperation in monitoring and responding to the modification program increased dramatically as nations recognized that the changes transcended individual countries and affected the entire human species. The situation required coordinated responses that prioritized species-level adaptation over national interests. The cooperative efforts revealed that human governments were beginning to think in terms of species survival and development rather than purely national concerns. The alien management system was successfully encouraging human political evolution toward planetary and eventually galactic perspectives. Scientific research into the modification mechanisms revealed that the alien technology operated through quantum field manipulation techniques that could influence biological processes at the cellular and subcellular levels without leaving detectable traces. The research efforts produced insights into quantum biology and consciousness that advanced human understanding of the relationships between physics and biology by decades. The alien modifications were serving as inadvertent education about advanced scientific principles. Medical monitoring of modified individuals revealed no adverse effects from the enhancement process. If anything, the modifications appeared to improve overall health and longevity while enhancing cognitive and behavioral capabilities. The health improvements suggested that the alien management system was optimizing human biology for extended lifespans and enhanced quality of life. The modifications were creating humans capable of longer and more productive lives within advanced technological civilization. Psychological studies revealed that modified individuals reported higher levels of life satisfaction and sense of purpose than unmodified populations. The enhancements were improving human well-being while serving alien objectives. The psychological benefits suggested that the alien management system understood human needs for meaning and fulfillment. The modifications were creating humans who could find satisfaction in roles that served both human and alien interests. The modification program represented the most comprehensive transformation of human consciousness and capability in species history. Humanity was being systematically upgraded to function effectively within alien-managed technological civilization, while maintaining essential human characteristics. The transformation was occurring so gradually and beneficially that most humans welcomed the changes rather than resisting them. The alien management system had designed the modification process to align with human preferences and values rather than contradicting them. As the modification program entered its 6th year, humanity had become fundamentally different from the species that had first observed 3I Atlas approaching the solar system. The changes were irreversible and comprehensive, affecting every aspect of human consciousness and capability. The quantum corridors continued expanding throughout the solar system and into interstellar space, supporting communication and management infrastructure that coordinated the modification program with precision that defied human understanding. Humanity had become part of an alien-managed system that operated according to principles spanning multiple star systems and potentially multiple galaxies. The universe had revealed itself to be structured around intelligence networks that managed the development of younger species according to protocols that optimized their integration into galactic civilization. Humanity had discovered its destiny as a managed species under the guidance of entities whose capabilities and objectives remained beyond human comprehension. The Watchers had evolved from observers to gardeners to architects of human consciousness itself, reshaping humanity according to blueprints that served purposes spanning cosmic scales and timelines that exceeded human historical experience. The age of natural human evolution had ended, replaced by directed development toward objectives that would determine humanity's role in a universe governed by intelligence hierarchies that spanned the stars. By the 7th year following the Perihelion encounter, the transformation of human consciousness had reached a critical threshold that would determine the species' ultimate fate within the galactic community. The alien management system had completed its comprehensive modification program, creating a version of humanity that was fundamentally different from the species that had first witnessed 3I Atlas's mysterious behavior near the Sun. The modifications had produced humans capable of intuitive understanding of quantum mechanics, space-time manipulation, and multidimensional physics. These enhanced individuals didn't simply learn advanced concepts through traditional education, but absorbed them through direct neural interface with the quantum field structures that permeated their environment. Educational institutions discovered that students could now visualize 11-dimensional mathematical relationships as easily as their ancestors had understood 3-dimensional geometry. The cognitive enhancements had reached a level where human consciousness could directly perceive aspects of reality that had previously required sophisticated instruments to detect. Research laboratories found that modified scientists could predict experimental outcomes through intuitive processes that operated faster than conscious reasoning. The enhanced researchers were developing technologies that seemed to emerge from pure inspiration rather than systematic investigation and development. The inspirational breakthroughs were producing innovations that operated on principles human science had never formally discovered. Energy generation systems emerged that harvested power directly from quantum vacuum fluctuations, and propulsion technologies appeared that manipulated space-time curvature without requiring exotic matter or impossible energy densities. Space agencies reported that engineers were designing interstellar spacecraft using concepts they couldn't fully explain through conventional physics, but knew intuitively were correct. The enhanced humans were accessing knowledge that existed within the quantum field matrix rather than deriving it through traditional scientific methods. The intuitive knowledge access represented a fundamental shift in how humans acquired and processed information. Instead of building understanding through gradual accumulation of facts and theories, modified individuals could download complete conceptual frameworks directly from the alien-influenced quantum field structures. Medical professionals discovered they could diagnose and treat conditions by sensing disruptions in patients' quantum field patterns rather than relying on conventional diagnostic instruments. The enhanced medical capabilities were enabling healing techniques that operated at the quantum level of biological organization. The quantum healing methods produced results that exceeded conventional medicine by orders of magnitude. Diseases that had been incurable using traditional approaches yielded to treatments that corrected quantum field distortions underlying biological dysfunction. Agricultural specialists found they could optimize crop growth by adjusting quantum field parameters around growing plants rather than relying on chemical fertilizers or genetic modifications. The enhanced farming techniques produced abundant harvests while improving soil health and ecosystem balance. The quantum agriculture methods demonstrated human integration with alien environmental management systems. Modified farmers were working collaboratively with the alien infrastructure to maintain planetary ecological balance while supporting expanding human populations. Environmental engineers discovered they could restore damaged ecosystems by rebalancing quantum field structures that supported biological processes. Polluted rivers became clean, degraded forests regenerated, and extinct species were restored through quantum field manipulation techniques. The environmental restoration capabilities revealed that the alien management system had been preparing humans to serve as planetary stewards with responsibilities spanning entire biospheres. The modifications were creating humans capable of managing planetary ecosystems with precision that matched alien environmental engineering. Communication specialists developed information transmission methods that operated through quantum field resonance rather than electromagnetic radiation. The new communication technologies enabled instantaneous contact across any distance, without signal degradation or interference. The quantum communication systems integrated seamlessly with the alien corridor network, enabling humans to participate in galactic information exchanges while maintaining their own communication infrastructure. The modifications had prepared humanity for membership in galactic communication networks. Transportation engineers created vehicles that moved by manipulating local space-time curvature rather than generating thrust through reaction mass expulsion. The space-time manipulation vehicles could travel between planets in hours rather than months while consuming minimal energy. The advanced transportation technologies enabled human expansion throughout the solar system while remaining compatible with alien infrastructure requirements. The modifications had prepared humanity for civilization, spanning multiple worlds within alien-managed space. Manufacturing specialists developed production methods that assembled materials at the quantum level rather than through conventional mechanical processes. The quantum manufacturing techniques could create substances with properties that didn't exist in nature and couldn't be produced through traditional chemistry. The quantum manufacturing capabilities enabled production of technologies that interface directly with alien systems while serving human needs. The modifications had prepared humanity for industrial integration with galactic manufacturing networks. Energy generation facilities operated through quantum vacuum extraction methods that provided unlimited clean power without environmental impact. The quantum energy systems eliminated resource scarcity while maintaining compatibility with alien energy distribution infrastructure. The unlimited energy access enabled human technological development without ecological constraints, while ensuring that human energy consumption remained integrated with galactic power management systems. The modifications had prepared humanity for energy abundance within cosmic civilization. Defense systems evolved beyond conventional military concepts to focus on maintaining harmony within the alien-managed galactic community. Modified military personnel understood that security came through cooperation rather than conflict with superior intelligence networks. The evidence accumulated over years of systematic observation leaves us with an inescapable conclusion. 3I Atlas wasn't just an interstellar visitor that happened to pass through our solar system. It was the harbinger of humanity's integration into a galactic community that had been watching us far longer than we ever imagined. From those crucial 38 missing seconds at Perihelion to the quantum corridors that now permeate our reality, we've witnessed the most profound transformation in human history. The universe revealed itself to be populated by intelligences whose capabilities transcend our understanding, and Earth has become their carefully managed garden. Whether we're ready or not, humanity's cosmic citizenship has begun.